Hello and welcome back to another episode of the SportsRunDown Betalong. How are you today, Gary?
Yeah, good, Albie. How's it going?
Yeah, good. To anyone watching who is a regular viewer of the show, you'll see things look a little different tonight. We're a man down, so we'll have just myself and Gary tonight. We won't have Slats, and then our long-time friend PK will be joining us later on for the other sports that we get into later in the night. But for the rest of the football, it'll just be the two of us. And to anyone who's new, welcome to the show. We appreciate you joining us. We will be watching the World Cup qualifiers and the EFL tonight, amongst a few other things, and we're putting on our bets and just talking all things gambling and football. So thanks for having you with us, and hopefully you enjoy the show. So it's a little bit slower start to the show tonight, Gary. We're not rushing to get our first bets called out there because they actually don't kick off for about 15 minutes, so we're slightly ahead of schedule for a nice change.
Yeah, it's, usually we're rushing for either the Belgian or the Bundesliga. So yeah, it's nice to have a less hectic intro. The one thing we do need to call out is that for our Betalong ACCA, so the all action ACCA that we do, again, any regular viewers will know that the all action ACCA, we put that on every Friday. So it's a treble. We all pick out a pick. So myself, Liam, and Slats pick out a bet each, put it in a treble. We put that on, and then basically if it wins, we give away the money to a viewer. So we've had to make a last-minute substitution in that bet. So anybody who read the column will see we have Bernadeschi in there as having 2 shots on target. And that's because, Liam, you actually researched it well, and you were saying that he's played in the 2 of the last 3 games, or started in 2 of the last 3 games.
Yeah, started in 2 of the last 3.
But he doesn't look to be playing tonight, or he's just not starting tonight. So obviously that's not fair. So we've subbed him out, and we put Bellotti in. It sticks in around the same odds, so it's still about 140 quid for the winner. So yeah, just to call that out. If you are backing it, you want to cheer it on with us, it's probably best to put Bellotti in rather than Bernadeschi.
He's a great price. He's 11-8 for 2 shots on target, and it looks like he's going to line up in that kind of middle of a front 3, so should get plenty of chances there. And as I discussed in the article, Switzerland do cough up a lot of chances, so I think Italy had double-digit shots on target in that game against Switzerland in the reverse fixture back in September, even though it finished 0-0, so they had plenty of chances. And yeah, for anyone in that front 3 to be outside evens, in my opinion, is a good price. So I'll take the central guy at 11-8. Looks the best bet for me. So you're right, Gary. It wouldn't be fair to leave in a non-starter in that treble, so we've swapped it out there.
Yeah, no, I've left my bet running for it. So if Bernadeschi does come on at half-time or whatever, I'll still be cheering him on for the 2 shots. So yeah, like I haven't totally written that off. But again, even for the show here, cheering someone to come off the bench isn't probably the best idea. So
no, especially if it's 1-0 up. There'll be no forwards coming on either. It'll be defenders or midfielders. So just, I'm the same as you. I actually backed it earlier in the week, and I wouldn't have given up on it. I wouldn't give up on it at all. I think there's a good chance. And his shots to minutes ratio is very, very high. So even if he does come on late, I'm not too, I wouldn't be too worried unless it's, last 5 minutes or something like that. So anyway, for anyone who is new to the show, Gary kind of mentioned it there. The way we do it is we call it We Bet You Win. So we've put that treble on. The most engaged or the best comment of the night, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, will win that bet should the bet come in. So they'll win the money off the bet. We've put a tenner on it. So maybe before we go into your bets, Gary, Slats he's also contributed a bet to it, but he's not here to discuss it. So I'll just run through it quickly. He's picked Northern Ireland to beat Lithuania and score more than 1 goal, or the game to have more than 1 goal. His logic is that this is kind of a last hurrah in terms of this campaign for Northern Ireland. They obviously can't qualify, but they want to put on a show for the home fans. And I think up next is the visit of Italy. So it's unlikely going to be a good night in Belfast for them that night. So Lithuania is the last real chance to kind of, entertain the home fans. And the Lithuanians' defense is just awful. I think they've conceded, did he say 18 goals so far this campaign? Something astronomical. They're really bad at the back. And as poor as Northern Ireland are, small nation, so it's to be expected. They're a good bit ahead of Lithuania. So I think a 1-0 win is a big step up in value. It's inside 1-2 for just a win, and it's nearly evens for a win with more than 1 goal. So That's the logic. They're pretty sound reasoning. I like those kind of bets. I think when you look at certain additional markets, both teams to score additional goals, the way I always view it is the increase in odds, and I think Slats makes a good case for the extra goal there. So that's two of the legs in the treble, and then Gary, you've picked out an EFL bet for us as well.
Yeah, so I've gone for over 2.5 goals in Hartlepool, Newport, and I actually meant to do it earlier on, but I'm going to do the bet with Hartlepool to win over 2.5 goals as well. I think that's around 4-1, but there's been a lot of goals in Hartlepool's games in particular. So over the last 4 matches, the games are averaging 4.25 goals per game. In the matches involving Newport, it's 3.8 goals per game. So both teams are kind of scoring at will, conceding as well. Hartlepool have only lost once at home this season, so that's where the angle of putting Hartlepool in and over 2.5. So yeah, I think it has a decent shout, and I think that bet is probably, again, we were talking offline before we came on air, Liam, so I might just call that out as well while we have it.
Yeah.
So, in the other match, the League One match, Bolton Crewe, I actually fancy a home win and over 2.5 goals there. So I put a fourfold together of Italy to win and over 2.5 goals, England to win and over 2.5 goals, Hartlepool to win and over 2.5 goals, and Bolton to win and over 2.5 goals. And it's 50-1, a little bit more. I think it's 51 or 52-1, which I think is a really, really good value bet. Bolton are win the game straight out. I think England are 2-5. Italy are odds on as well. So there's a good bit of juice in there by adding in the 2.5 goals element. And you'd expect England could rack up a score, Italy could rack up a score, and the other, like the EFL games, like over 2.5 recommended bet in both of those games. So I think just by adding that in and getting that extra kicker, it's definitely worth it. So something to cheer on throughout the evening.
Yeah, I really like that. It seems a huge price. I think I'll probably trail you on that myself because, like you said, at least if you break it into its component parts, more than half of them seem very, very likely to come in. Like you'd be looking at them at 1-2 or less. So, 50+1 there is a crazy price. I'm looking at the same game multi here for the Italian match. Barella, there's one part of it's a long odds. It's Barella to have an assist, which I might even take out. But Belotti to score, Locatelli to have one shot on target, and Shaqiri to have one shot on target, and then the Barella assist is 63-1. I mean, again, Belotti's playing centre forward for Italy tonight. I mean, there's a very good chance he's going to score. Locatelli's got a pretty good shots ratio when he plays for Italy, and Shaqiri, I know he's actually, I think he's on the team sheet as a midfielder here tonight, but I mean, he's a very forward-minded guy and loves a shot. So I mean, the 2 shots in the goal I think are pretty good prices. They're all outside evens, even though I think they should all be closer to evens. Is kind of on the money. And then the Barella one I think is 4-1, but again, you're kind of picking any of those kind of forward-minded Italian players. I'm just taking a punt on him. So I'm going to put a tenner on that at 62 and a bit to 1.
Yeah, sounds good. I haven't looked at the same game multi. I think are you watching that game?
Yeah, I was planning to, but I can
watch Northern Ireland instead. In fact, I might watch both of them, but I'll let you lead the way on Italy, so we're not talking over each other. But that seems like a good same game multi. Joe, this is a kind of group decider as well, isn't it? So it's not as if
this one is key.
Take it easy,
I actually had a paragraph in the article for tonight's, on SportsRunDown.com, and actually took it out because it got a bit long-winded. But basically, they're both tied on points, and they're both guaranteed to make at least the playoffs. So they're both on 14, and the next one up, I'm pulling a blank, whoever's third in that group is on 8, so they can't be caught. So worst case scenario, they're going to the playoffs. But a win here would all but guarantee first place, so straight to the World Cup. So I think the Italians will be, they're in pole position because they've got Northern Ireland up next as well, and they're home tonight. But I think that the Italians would be very keen to get this win under the belt and in front of the home crowd. My thinking in for goals, by the way, in this game, I think it could be high scoring, even though the first match was 0-0 for that reason, because neither team really has anything to lose. You know what I mean? They're both going to at least the playoffs, but a lot to gain if they win. So I can't see anyone kind of settling for a 1-0 loss. If anyone concedes, I think they're just going to throw the kitchen sink at it and try and catch up. So potential to be a high scoring one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here now. You were saying Locatelli's playing, were you?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a look for him in shots on target. So let me have a look here. So Locatelli. Yeah, I'm going to put him in, and then I might do one of the Swiss players to be carded as well on corners. Then it's probably my staple bet in a bet builder is a shot on target, a card, and then stick the over 10.5 corners in and hope for the best. So
what price are the corners in this one?
I'm having a look here. So Locatelli is 9-1, so there's plenty of juice in that anyway. Then let me just have a look at the corner markets. So the desktop version of Betfair is different, laid out different to the app. Like I don't know whether it's preferences, but all my markets are at the top of the app usually. So it's 7-5 for over 10.5. So this is actually going to be really juicy. I just need to try and get in for the cards market now. Player cards. Let me have a look. Player to be shown a card.
Maybe I'm getting too clever, but I'd even consider Shaqiri for the card. He's a little bit hot-headed.
I was thinking that Xhaka isn't playing, no?
No.
Okay. Shaqiri is 7-2 for a card, which, John, yeah, I'm gonna put Shaqiri in. So that's 120-1, which is decent.
Yeah, very good.
So I've gone with just a fiver on that for an interest.
Okay, these games are just kicking off now, so anyone who's watching them at home, you'll be getting ready to kick off, and then here ourselves, we're going to have the games up on screen, as you can see. So like an illustration of the game, I suppose, is how you describe it. I thought these are 8 o'clock kickoffs. Actually kicking off a little bit earlier than I expected, so kind of good anyway. Happy to get into them.
Yeah, no, it's there's going to be plenty of action for us anyway. All these World Cup qualifiers, but I'm very interested in the EFL action. I said I can't see there not being over 2.5 goals in both of those games, so I'd be very disappointed if they don't turn into goal fests.
Yeah, make a good case for them. I think I'll just. Would you be tempted to back them as a double, just over 2.5 double?
Yeah, like I mean, it's not great odds. I think it only pays about maybe 2-1, just over 2-1. I mean, you won't complain about it, but for a show like this, I just said I'd leave it off.
Yeah,
but I would recommend the double of the home wins. So the home wins and the over 2.5. That would probably pay about 10-1, I would say. So I think that's a really good bet. And obviously, I have it in a 50-1 one. So I don't really need to do it again. But if you were thinking of having a bet, I think that's the one I'd do.
Right. Sounds good. Yeah, I might leave them a couple of minutes in and then see how the games are looking, and then yeah, get on that double. The anthem they're on here now in the Italian one, giving it socks as always.
Yeah, I actually couldn't listen to the Italian national anthem. I'm a bit disappointed. Usually it's especially in Italy, like it's a good atmosphere. We're going to be kicking off in Northern Ireland soon. They're just doing a minute silence here for Remembrance Sunday. So I'm sorry. they were doing a minute silence, so I didn't realize that I hadn't got my screen on mute.
Right.
So got a bit of a fright down when I came back.
Okay. Out in the Stadio Olimpico, so it seems to be that the restrictions are beginning to wane over there as well.
Yeah, I actually last minute I'm going to look up going to the France game tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
France are at home. I'm in Paris for the weekend, so they're at home. I think it might be Azerbaijan or it's a small team anyway. So I'm assuming I'll check now and see who it is, but I'm assuming it won't be hassle to get tickets given it's not like a big match. But I think I'm going to be staying a couple of miles away from the stadium, so it's Kazakhstan they're playing.
okay.
So I doubt the Kazakhstan game is gonna be a sellout. So gonna have a look at that tomorrow. Kazakhstan are bottom of the group with 3 points, and France, yeah, they probably looks like they're true with a point. They're probably true on top of the group anyway. But a point definitely secures the group for them. So
yeah,
got to go along.
I wonder what like Kazakhstan would they actually find it easier to qualify from, a different group in UEFA, because realistically they're kind of hopeless in those groups because they're going to come up against, like the likes of France and all that.
Yeah, it'd be like the Asia Pacific or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a long way for them to travel as well. Like Kazakhstan over is some journey to be making for games of football like all the time. I suppose a lot of them probably play in Russia.
I was just going to say, I wonder where they're based, because I do know some nations, especially say in rugby, for example, some of the Pacific Islands, they actually have their main bases in Europe or somewhere else, just because it, for practical reasons.
Yeah, no, I'd say they're Russian. Now, if anybody knows and be watching in, if you know where Kazakhstan usually or most of their players play, let us know. But hazard a guess, a lot of them playing in the Russian league.
Yeah, kind of a ping pong start to the Italian match here. Just ball went up high and just headed and then kind of volleyed and headed and over and back. But it's settling down now. Just about a minute into the game. Oh, they've given the ball away cheaply there. Switzerland had a nice little, I wouldn't even call it a counter-attack. Italy were playing out from the back and lost possession. But the shot was, he was kind of well shepherded and skied the shot then. So I'd say Italy not quite settled yet.
Northern Ireland have started brightly here against Lithuania. It's only 2.5 minutes in, but they've had 2 decent attacks. Keepers had to make a save there now to the save you'd expect them to make, but good to see that they've come out of the blocks quickly anyway.
Yeah, but that's all you can do really. So
yeah, I was actually thinking there as well. The last time, I think it was Newport. So Newport Burton, I think it was when Newport featured on the stream last. That was the game that was in after 4 minutes. So I wouldn't mind a start like that again.
Yeah, that was a pretty spectacular start to that show. All right. Italy just went down the other end, had a good chance, and Switzerland tried to play it out, lost the ball, and now Italy have just gone all the way back to the keeper. So I think we can kind of see the structure of this game already. Italy hogging the ball and trying to build it up from the rear. To get a frog in my throat, or so to speak. So excuse me if I keep going on mute. Kind of got a cough.
Yeah, I can see that we've got a lot of new viewers there across the platform. So anybody watching in, have a look down here. You'll see the kind of video we have going across the bottom of the screen. That kind of tells you that the bet that we've got on tonight, and essentially the competition that we run every week. So if our bet lands, that treble that you see going across the screen, and there is one amendment to it. So Bernadeschi is down for 2 shots on target. He didn't start, so we've subbed him out and put Bellotti in, but it still pays around the same amount. So if you fancy winning that bet, if it lands, comment in on the platform that you're watching on. So Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, can be anything. It can be interaction with us, just asking us a question. Can be telling us who you're backing. Anything you feel, any gambling related questions, get them in. We'll try and answer them, and then the best interaction at the end of the night said if our bet lands will win the cash. So get commenting if you want to be in with a chance of winning that money.
Yep, thanks, Gary.
Good point, I suppose.
Yeah.
Trying to get, it's like annoying the way EFL games are on TV. Like I was hoping that they'd be on TV, but they're not.
I wonder, is it to do with UEFA because the qualifiers?
Yeah, it might be something to do with it, all right. But it's just
because I know they used to, they're very strict at controlling those things, so maybe that's why. Who knows?
Northern Ireland are still on the attack here now. It's just they've just been given offside. I think it was Josh McGuinness was offside. It's actually debatable because it deflected off the defender into his path. But like they've been on top for the first 5 minutes anyway. Lithuania haven't really got out of their own half. So that's good from that bet's perspective. I think if they got an early Northern Ireland goal, it will kind of settle things down.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of the same in this Italian match now. Switzerland sort of very happy to not have the ball in the in the non-dangerous positions, but then as soon as the ball goes back towards the Italian goal, here's a shot. I think that's Alaba. It's not Alaba. He lined up a monster shot there, but then ended up was kicking one of the Italian guys, I think, in the knee. Hopefully for his sake, he was the knee and not any higher, but he's gone down like a. Oh, God, very painful. So they're quite happy to not have the ball and just let Italy kind of pass it around. And then as soon as there's a chance for them to do something, they just pounce in numbers. So who is this guy? He's lying face down. I can't see. He got absolutely booted. There's a few of our viewers on previous weeks have been big League of Ireland fans, so there's a couple of League of Ireland games on tonight as well. From my own perspective, Finn Harps are playing. Hopefully they struggle tonight because be good for Waterford, but it's only 3 games on, I think. Yeah,
I did think that Bohemians were a big price. Again, we kind of said it last week, it didn't work out with Rovers having won the league, but I know this is a derby game, so they're probably not going to be allowed to take it lightly, but Bohemians are home to Rovers, with Rovers haven't won the league. Like the Bohs players will obviously be trying to get their place in the team for the FAI Cup finals. They play St. Pat's at the end of the month in the FAI Cup final. So I think there's a bit of an angle there. Obviously on form, you'd probably be back in Rovers all day long, but about 5-2 for Bohs, I think could be a decent bet.
Yeah. Those Barella.
Waterford play tomorrow night then, Liam?
Yeah, playing tomorrow.
So I suppose you'd be hoping that St. Pat's win comfortably, just so Finn Harps don't pick up any points.
That'd be what I'm hoping for, yeah. Because if that happens and then Waterford win tomorrow, I think they're looking really solid. And tomorrow is the more likely of the wins for Waterford in the two games left. You just seen a replay of Barella there getting hurt, and it looked really painful. He went off. He's back. I think he's back on now. And Switzerland are really, really up for this year. They're actually all over Italy at the minute. Waterford play tomorrow, 6:30, I think it is, or 7:30 maybe. So that's kind of where, you feel like a bit of a bum cheering on a team to lose or to not do well. But Waterford go to 40.
You have to in this circumstance, like.
Yeah. So if Finn Harps don't get anything here tonight, they'll be still on 40, and a win for tomorrow will put Waterford on 43. And then it comes down to the last match. So, it's kind of necessary the way things are at the minute. So do we know? Yeah, it's official who's could be in the playoffs coming up the way, right?
Yeah, I actually think that might be tonight as well. It's either tonight or tomorrow. It's Treaty versus UCD. I think they're. Oh no, actually, it must be tomorrow because they're playing. I think they're playing that at Dadyman Park.
Okay.
So yeah, they'll play off, and then obviously the winner of that will go through and play whoever finishes second last in the Premier League.
Yeah, based on recent form, I'd really fancy Waterford against either of those. It depends on which way you look at it. Going in, like Longford have kind of gotten, or not Longford, Finn Harps have gotten worse as the season has gone on, where Waterford have gotten better. So in the playoff games, you'd be assuming the teams coming up would prefer to play a team on a downward trajectory like Finn Harps. But maybe I'm just looking for silver linings here myself.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just there's a suspension in Hartlepool, Newport. So I'm hoping it's a suspension for a goal, but because it's not on TV, I can't really see. But yeah, we could do it at 7 minutes in. A nice early goal there would be good for the bet. So fingers crossed, it is one.
Yeah, Italy have kind of weathered the storm there. Now they've got the ball back and they're pinging it around with actually very, very sharp passing. It's nice to see. And Switzerland had just dropped right off again. So same as the first few minutes of the match.
The first 10 minutes of this Northern Ireland game, like if Northern Ireland don't win it, it's just going to be a travesty. Like they're absolutely all over Lithuania. So I'm not too sure of the price. I'll get it up now. But anybody looking for an in-play bet, a home win there just looks like an absolute certainty. Keeper said made a great save. They broke down the right-hand side, put it into the box. I'm not too sure who the striker was. It wasn't McGuinness. It was the other striker. Had the ball at about the penalty spot. Basically a clear path that goal and shot straight at the keeper. So decent save by the keeper. But you'd be expecting your striker to save it.
Yeah, would be nice to go in. Italy had a very dangerous play there. I don't know which of the centre backs for Switzerland managed to head it clear, but a really dangerous ball into the box. So Italy are showing a lot of incision here, which is good to see when they do have the ball.
Yeah, I actually must check the Northern Ireland price now while I'm in there. Let me just check.
At some point as well, the England game is going to become value, surely, or a goal of some sort.
They've just gone 1-0 up.
Oh.
Literally just gone 1-0 up, so.
Yep. Poland scored earlier. Poland have actually 2-0 up now, 11 minutes against Andorra. So that looks to be in the bag. Actually, over 2.5 has been taken off the board here. So that game is, from the bookies' point of view, as good as over. Switzerland just scored 1-0 Switzerland. I did say they looked dangerous when they had the ball, and they have taken the lead there in Rome, and pretty significant away contingent there.
An unbelievable strike.
Yeah, fair play to them. You know what? They had. I kind of said it. Like, they seem to have a very clear game plan. They would just, when Italy were in non-threatening positions, they just didn't care. And as soon as the ball was in a place where it was worth stealing, they just attacked in numbers. Let's see this here again. Yeah, what a lovely strike. Nobody stopping that.
I checked, and Northern Ireland are 1-3, so probably not value. Maybe give it a bit more time.
Geez, the behind the player strike version of that strike is really sweet. Nobody going to stop that. So that's actually great for the game now, because there's always the stereotypical Italian reaction to going 1-0 up, that they would just sit back on the ball, or sit back, park the bus type of thing. So now that they're forced to go for it, could liven the game up a bit there. That's another fullback. It reminds me of Dumfries for the Netherlands. That Sylvain Weidmer, who he plays the right back, but he's in the opposition box so often for a fullback. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like coming on to those balls that are just like breaking out of the box, you can be so dangerous, especially players that have a decent shot on them.
Yeah.
They're good to have on your side. And especially good to have in your bets as well. But it's for our bets, we obviously need Bellotti now, 2 shots on target. As you said, Italy have to come back into it. You think that they'll be shooting from kind of all angles. And that Locatelli bet I did as well. 9-1. He's probably going to have a few pot shots from deep. So
was it 9-1 for 2 shots on target? Is that it?
9-1 for 2 shots on target, yeah. But I've done him in that. So I need Shaqiri to be booked, Locatelli 2 shots on target, and over 10.5 corners. Have you seen how many corners there's been?
Let me tell you now. I haven't actually noticed any, so let me.
There's actually been none. So
yeah,
could do with a few corners. So, but
early, like we said it a few times. Of all the markets to be waiting on, corners is, corners lead to corner, so it's easy to kind of put them on the back burner for a while.
Yeah, like the Ireland game yesterday, there was 8 corners in the first half, and then I think there was only 1 in the second half. So, like I had a bet builder with the minute, and you're kind of laughing, thinking, "Oh well, this bet is home and hosed the half time," and then it didn't come in. So
we had it on the stream the last time we had. Hold on. Oh, so close to 2-0. Italy they're not with it at the back at all, or they're not at it at the back yet. Before I go into my corners bet, Switzerland have a very clear game plan here, and I like I like to see these sort of things, see how Italy react to it. But they're racing down the wing, they're kind of cutting in at the byline, and then just playing the ball back to someone running in from sort of midfield or from the wing, and Italy are not picking them up at all. Like there's just 10 yards of space for these guys to run into. So it'd be interesting to see now what the Italians do. Do they bring on another defender? Do they shake up that midfield? But they are going to get sliced open for the rest of this game if they don't change something. So it makes it exciting. I was actually thinking though, with Italy conceding first, reminds me that the Euros final, and that turned into an absolutely cracking game because Italy had to chase it. So
Northern Ireland have scored.
Nice.
So look to be Josh McGuinness from a corner. So that's good for that leg of the bet. So Northern Ireland to win and over 1.5 goals. Obviously, 17 minutes in and there's a goal. So that's really good. And I said I couldn't really see Lithuania winning this game anyway from the way it started. Ball into the box. I think it's actually could be an own goal. It's an own goal. Player goes for it at the front post. A defender goes to head it out, and it just comes off the back of his head and into the corner.
Right.
Keeper probably should have saved it. And there was a man on the post, and he took a step off the post, and it just went in where he was standing. So kind of a calamity of errors there from Lithuania. Hard to see them getting back into the game the way they've started. Just had to give them a ball away poorly there as well, and Northern Ireland on the attack again. So this could turn into 3 or 4-0 fairly easily. Northern Ireland on the break again, across the edge of the box. Oh, goal again.
Oh, lovely.
Might be disallowed for offside. So Josh McGuinness was standing in the 6-yard box. I don't know whether he got a touch on it or not. This must go to VAR. So basically, it was similar to what happened in Italy. The ball broke to the edge of the box, and Stephen Davis is taking a shot. McGuinness is standing in the 6-yard box, but he doesn't touch it, and he's not in the way of the goalkeeper. He actually stood with his hands in the air. It's like McCann that took the shot. So if they go to VAR, I'd be surprised if it wasn't given, because he wasn't interfering with play, and he didn't impede the goalkeeper's vision. So he was kind of standing to the side of the 6-yard box.
Right.
They seem to have given the offside, but I thought with the new rules that was in, that wouldn't have been given, especially because he stood with his hands in the air, like to kind of give the indication that he wasn't playing or whatever, So, but like Lithuania on the ropes anyway. That would have been 2 goals in 2 minutes. Northern Ireland on the attack again. So Lithuania literally just can't get out. Every time the ball goes to the halfway line, Northern Ireland get the ball back and come with another attack. So
Nearly 2-0 to Switzerland here, and almost a carbon copy of the goal. Just kind of 1-2s down the left-hand side for Switzerland. Player, I don't see who it was, breaks into the box, and then when he looks like he's either lining up a cross or a shot, he just played it back out to the edge of the box, and Shaqiri never really got over it and just skied the ball, which is annoying because I haven't put a shot on target. But really good chance there for Switzerland again. And Italy still are not adapting, are not reacting to this this Switzerland tactics, I suppose you'd have to call it. Like
Italy have been very poor on the ball as well. Like they seem to be kind of trying to rush things or play like extravagant balls rather than just, build a play the way they normally would. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
For a team, coming off a Euros win, so.
Yeah, and I mean, a nation of footballers who are traditionally very cool under pressure, they've been doing this for as long as anybody, so there's an awful ball from Locatelli. Mancini on the sideline there trying to calm everybody down. He obviously sees the same thing you're saying, Gary. They're looking a little bit, maybe the occasion is getting to them a bit. And obviously the way the Euros panned out, all their big games were away from home, so it's the first real important home game they've had in a while. Obviously COVID reduced attendances, and this looks to be pretty full Olympico, so maybe it's just a nice little bit of play there to get the ball back. Yeah, see how this goes. I don't want Italy to go 2-0 down because it could put all my bets under a lot of pressure, but the way things
neither do I, because I have the bet with Italy to win in over 2.5 goals. But yeah, like they haven't been at the races so far. Speaking of teams at the races, there's been another goal in the England game, so they're 2-0 up after 18 minutes. Harry Maguire scored the first after 9 minutes, and then Harry Kane scored after 18 minutes. So two players who haven't really been setting the world alight in the Premiership, getting goals for England. Might get on to talking about it later, but the way Harry Kane has been playing for Tottenham this season is absolutely shocking. We might get on to talking about that a bit later.
We might as well just do it now. I mean, the games are going to go on and kind of are in sync, so we might as well.
I just thought Kane. So obviously went to West Ham versus Tottenham a couple of weeks ago. West Ham were the better side in the day, but if I was a Tottenham fan that day, I'd be absolutely disgusted at the lack of effort from Kane. Like, he was just strolling around the pitch. Didn't look interested at all. The goal that Antonio scored to win the game, he didn't even make an attempt to block him. And he was a shadow of his former self. Obviously, I've seen him play the last 4 or 5 years in the Premiership, a couple of times a season with West Ham. And obviously watching him on TV as well. He's always looked really classy. But in that game, I mean, I could have put
not to interrupt you, right? But he's always looked classy. I don't think you could say, if you'd only started watching football in the last 2 years, Kane hasn't looked classy. He's been living off, we'd say, his reputation. The season that Spurs got to the Champions League final, halfway through that season, he went off the boil and he hasn't come back. And I think that if you looked at him at any point in the last 2 years, he's not even Spurs' best player. I mean, that's without a doubt his son. And I mean, England's best player, not even in the conversation. I think he's been, at best, a mediocre to good centre forward in the last sort of 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Obviously, him falling deep and stuff, but wasn't there one time last season when he had most goals and most assists or something like that? So I don't know whether you could throw it that long, but definitely this season and definitely in that game. So that was the first time I've seen him live since the whole transfer saga. And there was any player can have a bad day, but the lack of interest that he showed was it was disgusting. And then it probably makes it worse now that he's come out and scored for England. He scored for England against Poland, was the last international break or the international break before that, and then comes out and scores again for England. So it's just kind of clear that he just hasn't got an interest in playing for Spurs and wants to move. I wonder will that change with Conte being there now? Obviously, if Conte can get him back to his best, he's got a good asset. But if you can't get him back firing by Christmas, you think that Spurs have to let him go in January,
Yeah, I mean, saw plenty of summers with Arsenal. Like, you're trying to hold on to a player who doesn't really want to be there, and as much as it might seem like the right thing to do, and as stomach turning as it can be to just cave to a player's demands, you either sell him or you just go the other route and you punish them and you just put them in with the reserves and just let them rot away, because you can't keep them in the first team when they're vocally and publicly don't want to be there. It complete. And I mean, Spurs, I'd say their success, I mean, they didn't really win anything, but their good spells under Pochettino, it all came through a kind of hard work, team effort kind of style of football. And that's exactly the way Conte plays. And Italy nearly again have equalized. They've had a few great chances while we've been talking. But, if you're not buying into that, it's like Ronaldo with United. If he's not going to track back, you just need to change the system or get rid of the player. You can't have, 9 guys busting their backsides to cover every inch of the pitch, and then Kane just kind of wandering about, slotting in and out when he feels like it. So,
yeah, I agree with that. And Paul Kelly has just commented in on YouTube saying Kane has scored a lot of goals for a mediocre player. So that was what I was saying. I don't think he's mediocre. I think he's we know he has the talent. We know he's a great striker, and he's one of the world's best striker on his day, I would say. But when you're not putting in the effort, it just, and that was the thing. I used to always feel that Kane kind of did too much of the donkey work. Sometimes he find himself outside the box, or he'd be run himself into the ground for lost causes and things like that. But he's gone the polar opposite now, where he just, as I said, he's a shadow of his former self. Maybe that goal will kickstart his season to go for England, but so he scored against Poland a couple of weeks ago and didn't kick on from that. So it's really down to whether he wants to do it or not, I would say.
I think there's an element of opposition in there as well. Poland never really delivered the national scene, and this is like Albania. So there's two sides of it. But I mean, even in terms of the goals, how many goals do you have this season? 1 in the league, maybe 2. I think he's really struggling.
Yeah.
I stand over what I said, though. I mean, I don't think he's Spurs' best player. I don't think he's England's best player. And I think if he's not either of those, I don't think he can be in the conversation for any type of best player beyond that. So,
now we do have to caveat to any viewers watching in that this is coming from an Arsenal fan. So
no, not at all. I mean, I really rate Son. Do you know what I mean? It's not at all, boys. I just think that you said about the work, and he definitely was overworked for a few years. You could see him playing through injuries a lot, which I think is, harmed his own sort of longer term prospects. But I think I don't know. The other side of it too is who's going to come in to buy him now? Like they're saying, get rid of him in January. How long does he have to be misfiring before someone starts to hesitate? I mean, would City come in and pay the 150 million that was being touted for him during the summer? I'd be very surprised if they were still looking to do that.
Yeah, I think City would buy him probably 90, 100 million. I don't think the 150. So, but then again, can Levy still hold out for 150 million with a player that's basically digging his heels in and not playing great? Because I'd be with you, LB. I think that player power, I don't like it. I don't like the way the players have all of the power nowadays. There's been that shift, the agents have so much power. It doesn't sit well with me. Loyalty has really gone in club football, which is kind of a shame. But that's what the money side of things will do for you. But I do think it's turned into a player power league, and Kane has shown that if he wants to force a move, he'll be able to do it by just kind of downing tools. And Paul Kelly saying again that stinks of Arsenal. So yeah, I think he's given Son all the props, but I don't think Son was going to FA Cup finals dressed in Arsenal jersey. So it's probably
that's it. Respectfully, Paul, I think that's not the motivation at all. Same to you, actually, Gary. But I do agree with the player power thing. It's really kind of I don't think anyone likes Daniel Levy. Certainly not Spurs fans. But I think that if anyone is going to stick to their guns, it's probably him. You'd love to see some player just get put out to pasture with the reserve for the rest of the season and just let them suffer it out, because it's like you said. Remember at the start of the summer, the start of the season, end of the summer, he didn't come back from holidays. He just refused to show up for training and stuff like that. It's really poor form.
Yeah, but I think that kind of putting them in the reserves and stuff. Again, I think that's tactic of a bygone era as well. Like, it seems to have an impact on the rest of the squad. I know West Ham tried to do it with Dimitri Payet a couple of years ago in the January transfer window. You know, he handed in a transfer request. They said no, they stuck him in the reserves. And then by the end of the window, he kind of caused that much of a fuss within the squad and morale and the team. They kind of just cut their losses. So I'm with you. And I like, obviously Levy has a track record of being a hard bargainer and things like that. But yeah, I just think that it will
I think a lot of it comes down to like the kind of the intentions of the club as well. Like, I mean, certainly back then with Payet, like that era for West Ham, like what was the goal with West Ham? Not get relegated realistically. I mean, you can say whatever the fans might have thought, but you look at the way the club was playing and the way the managers were, or the way the higher ups were kind of carrying out in the market, it was just avoid relegation. So it doesn't really matter if you cut your losses and sell someone like Payet, who obviously was just like a hidden gem when they bought him. But if you look at Spurs, like there's certainly some of the fans and a lot of the players and the club hierarchy seem to think that the goal is winning trophies. So if you sell Kane, like the other players will just look to leave. And you see it with a lot of teams, when they start to sell their big stars, the rest of them just go as well because they know that there's no real commitment to building something or winning anything. So I think if you sell Kane, why would Son stick around? Why would any of the rest of the kind of slightly older, you know what I mean, players you wouldn't consider young players, why would they stick around? So I would say
but like you also have to look at it in terms of, I don't think Spurs learned a lesson from Arsenal in terms of the stadium move. As well as anybody, Arsenal moving to the Emirates, a hybrid, had all these superstars, then they moved to the Emirates, they kept them. But then it started getting to, well, we can't actually pay Thierry Henry 250 grand a week or whatever, that way. And they start to dwindle away. And then you get to rebuilding without Wenger or whatever. And it just becomes a little bit of a nightmare. Now, obviously, they look to be getting a bit back on track now with Arteta and things like that. But I think Tottenham have kind of fallen into that same trap as well, where they have £1 billion stadium or whatever it costs to build a lovely stadium. But is that like that has to inhibit your ability to buy in the transfer market? And people like Kane, it's a short career, they're going to want to win trophies. It's only natural for them to want to move. So they probably didn't think that fully true. Speaking of England, they've gone 3-0 up. So Jordan Henderson put them 3-0 up. So half an hour gone there, England 3-0 up. There's actually been 3 yellow cards for Albania. So I looked at it there. It's 5-2 for a red card in that game, which I'm not going to back it out, but that seems like a decent enough bet with half an hour gone, and Albania already have 3 yellow cards. So the ref is obviously pushing them out at will.
Seems to be about the lowest I've ever seen that price, a red card at 5-2.
Yeah. I actually was expecting bigger, but obviously somebody's watching the England game as well. That was on Sky Bet. You might get a bigger on one of the other bookies that haven't quite clocked on yet.
Yeah.
Lithuania are on a great break here. It's game to nothing. It's like one of the first times they've really got out, but it's just too slow. The striker probably should have taken it himself, but he cut back inside and let the defenders back.
Good free kick there for Switzerland, swung in. Didn't see who got a head on it, but Donnarumma got down to his right and saved it pretty comfortably in the end. Let's see the replay here. 22 for Switzerland. I'd like to see who that guy is, but wasn't the best header in the end. Fabian Schär, actually. So the whole back line of Switzerland are getting shots on target here tonight. It's funny because if my Champions League series for the site, I regularly look at away teams or underdogs, midfielders and centre backs to get on hit the target, and I didn't even consider it tonight. It would have been pretty profitable already. But
do you think the way the market's priced up in that Italy game, it's a bit disrespectful to Switzerland? So Italy are still 2-1 to win the game, being a goal down. Switzerland 11-8 in the draw, 2-1. So the bookies are pricing it kind of fairly even across the board.
It's what we've said.
I was thinking about backing Italy, but I would have backed them at 4-1, not 2-1.
Yeah, it's what we said before. They've set their odds at the start, and they sort of set out their stall, and they're very reluctant to move away from it. So this is still priced as Italy started the game as 2-1 on, But yeah, the way they're playing here is not. There's actually, if you didn't know who these teams were, you just started watching this half an hour, you think Switzerland were miles ahead of Italy in terms of the global football standings. Certainly a lot more street smart. So yeah, I would agree with you. It's a bit disrespectful there. I probably wouldn't be too tempted by Switzerland now. They're 6-5 where I'm seeing them on Betfair. Probably wouldn't be massively tempted at that price. But yeah, it's Italy so close to them makes no sense.
I'd say there's just been a goal in Hartlepool and Newport. So Newport have taken the lead there, which is good for the over 2.5s. The away team taking the lead. So there's 31 minutes gone in the first half, 1-0 to Newport. So that I was actually getting a bit worried about that leg of the bet because it was so like it was creeping along at 0-0. I didn't want to get to half time at 0-0, but yeah, 1-0 to Newport. So we're doing fairly well in the Northern Ireland side, doing fairly well in that Hartlepool Newport game. So I think if you just get a shot on target by is it Bellotti we have, it would be a nice first half anyway.
Yep. Corner for Switzerland here. They are taking their sweet time. Let's see now. Italy taking no chances. Nearly half the team standing back on the 6-yard line. Oh no. Really sloppy pass back there from I don't know who it was. And now Italy are right up on them. Bit of pressure there. Yeah, that's weird. Switzerland just invited a load of pressure on themselves out of really nothing. They just passed the ball back to the keeper and allowed the Italians to just race up and kind of reassert a bit of territory for themselves.
Just while there's no action there, it's gone 4-0 to England. So
England, I feel like England against these kind of small nations are just the most pointless matches in European football. They always win, and they always win comfortably. Schär there did well not to get booked. Didn't see which Italian guy kind of danced around him, and he just threw the hip out and flattened him. So a pretty dangerous looking free kick here for the Italians. Where would you say it is? It's probably about 10 yards diagonally outside the corner of the box. Insigne, I think, is going to take it. Or he's standing over it anyway. Insigne whips it in. Oh, goal. 1-1. Who scored it? The Italians are celebrating. Di Lorenzo, so the right back. Very nice. God, we should have been back in our usual long odds in the shots market. They're all all the defenders are at it here. Buffon there, I think, in the mix of the players, so he's still floating around the national scene. I think it was Buffon anyway. I didn't see him clearly. If it is him, he's got a very young man haircut for a veteran of the game. I think this has gone to VAR. The referee actually hasn't awarded it yet, but the players are still celebrating away and the fans are going mental. So I would be very surprised if there was an offside there. Couldn't see it.
Yeah, I kind of saw it. I didn't think there was much wrong with it. As you said, apart from potential offside, but it's either the players coming back. Actually, if Bellotti had touched it, he would have been given offside.
Yeah.
But he actually could have if Di Lorenzo's header hadn't gone in, it might have been a penalty because he took some punch to the face from
an absolute clobber he took, yeah. I forget the name of that Switzerland goalkeeper, Sommer or some Sommer.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a hothead. Like I can remember in the Champions League a few times and he banging into people or racing out of the box for things.
Yeah, I've seen him have incredible games and then I've seen him have terrible games as well. So it's one of those hard to predict players, but I'd say Di Lorenzo will have a sore head in the morning anyway after that box.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is going to sound like freaking sour grapes or whatever, but I was actually between Insigne and Barella for the assist. And Insigne's after getting that one there, so I'm kind of a bit annoyed I didn't take him. And all right, I'll slap in the face all right for his troubles. So 1-1 now. So I wonder what that's done to the odds market. Italy are 4-5, Switzerland are 9-2. There's a bit of value in Switzerland there at 9-2, I think. Like they didn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they kind of caught Italy cold. Like they've been the better team.
And, I feel that Italy have kind of been warming into it though. Like for the first 25 minutes, I thought Italy were shocking, but the last kind of 10 to whatever 13 minutes, they've been slowly building. They've had a few shots. So
they've been like that for the whole of the year. Like all the Euros, they were the same. Like they had their moments where you're watching them going, I can't believe I backed these guys to win the Euros, and then they just turn it on and they look really sharp, and then all of a sudden, then they kind of drift out of it again. I don't know what it is with them, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be tempted by them now at 4-5. But anyway, shaping up to be a good game. We, like we said, exactly like we said in the article, whichever way it is panned out, neither team was going to sit back and accept it because, like I said, not a lot to lose, but an awful lot to gain from a win. So 38 a bit gone here on my clock. I'm probably a little bit behind the live, but that's where we are.
Northern Ireland on a good attack here down the right hand side. Cross it in. Got to the back post, now to the left back. Try to go for a corner. Decent break there. This game had kind of gone a bit boring. Northern Ireland dominated for the first half an hour, but the last 10 minutes was a bit scrappy. So they're 5 minutes left in the first half. They're starting to get on top again.
This is a pet peeve of mine now. Nothing came of this because the ball went out for a throw, but Insigne was kind of loitering on the halfway line. The ball was kicked over the top and he went to chase it. He wasn't offside because there was another guy, a Swiss defender, a good bit ahead of him. He was also in his own half. And whoever was coming back for Switzerland, like, let him get away from him to throw his hands up in the air and turn to the referee to appeal for offside. I was just like, it's just so annoying to see that type of play, because if the ball hadn't gone out for a throw, he was, he had a really good chance to probably bear down on goal and he wouldn't have been offside. So it just seemed, I hate to see it. Just, play the whistle, chase your man, and if he's offside, you know what I mean, there's officials there and there's VAR even now in the game to go back and check it,
Yeah. Just been a Northern Ireland goal disallowed again, so that's the second goal Northern Ireland had disallowed, and it's Josh McGuinness and the tick of it again. So McGuinness was the player that was offside when the first goal was disallowed, even though he didn't really interfere with play. This one was a corner crossed into the 6-yard box, and he's just a foul to the defender, so he did give him a little push. It's probably the right decision, but on another night, Northern Ireland probably could be 3-0 up, but it's, as I said, back to still 1-0. So
annoying when that happens. You only get so many chances in a game. Northern Ireland have had 3 of them now, so when you're backing goals, it can be a little bit worrying when they start to get disallowed like that. Yeah,
exactly. Now we only need one more, and the way, as I said, Lithuania, they just don't look great. Northern Ireland do look threatening, and it's particularly McGuinness is kind of battering them there. They don't really know how to handle them. So I'd still be fairly confident that leg of the bet will come in, but you'd like them to get 2-0 and kind of wrap the game up, because obviously anything can happen in football.
Yeah. You're very open now here, approaching half time in the Italian game, and just kind of ball end-to-end stuff, but the Swiss do look a little bit tired. Their kind of efforts in the first 40 minutes, I'd say at this stage now, they're just hoping to get back in at half time even. Like at the start of the game, I was kind of pointing out, every time Italy the ball was near their own goal, 3-4 Swiss guys would pounce and win it back, and now they're just leaving Italy have it. So
it's always the danger when you start so fast. You're just going to run out of legs, particularly away from home. The Italian crowd are obviously up for it now after getting that goal back. So Switzerland probably need half time, to be honest.
Yeah, agree with that.
The Bolton game has been suspended for quite a long time, so it doesn't look to have been definitely something after been happening in the match. There doesn't look to be any goal mode action anyway, because there's only one shot on target after the first half an hour, but it's just strange that it was suspended for so long.
Yeah.
It seems to be back now, though.
Nice little play now by Switzerland. The same thing again, just straight down that left wing. I mean, it's a free kick, surely. Yeah, dangerous free here now for the Swiss. Chiesa is going to get a yellow card, I'd say, here for his blabbering.
Oh my God. I don't think Josh McGuinness is going to score tonight. So he got played in, like, I think he might have thought he was offside. It took a shot, keeper blocked it, it came back to him. And he kind of dinked it over the keeper and it rolled across the line. The defender went in and kicked it out. But he was from a tight angle, kind of chipped the keeper, and it was just rolling across the line, and the defender got there before the ball actually crossed the line. So, it's like the 40, just going into the first minute of added on time now. Northern Ireland still on the attack. Oh, geez, they should be 5-0 up, I'd say, here. Like, every time they go forward, they look like they're going to score. It's great attack down the right-hand side. Nutmegged the player, brought it into the 18-yard box. I think it was Paddy McNair out on the right-hand side that nutmegged the player. And when he crossed it in, it actually looked closer in real time than it actually was. It was quite far wide, but in real time, it looked like it just skimmed the bar. So, but yeah, 2 minutes added on time, about a minute into it. Northern Ireland well on top. So,
yeah, I see we have a few.
It's still looking good.
New visitors across the various streams, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So, as we said at the start of the show, if you weren't with us, make sure to drop in a few comments. We have a bet on tonight, which is, you can see it in the video, just below us here. We bet you win. So, we have 2 shots, over 2.5 goals in the Hartlepool game, Northern Ireland to win, and over 1.5 goals in the Northern Ireland game against Lithuania, and Belotti to have 2 shots on target in Italy's currently 1-1 game against Switzerland. So that is going to pay about €140, and we will give that to one of the most active commenters across either of the platforms. Paul Kelly on YouTube has been excluded for his Arsenal comment earlier, but anyone else who wants to throw in a comment, the most interesting comment or the most engaged viewer will get that if the bet wins. So make sure with halftime approaching to get your comments in, and we'd love to discuss whatever games you're watching, whatever bets we have on. We really enjoy the chatting about this stuff. So just let us know what your thoughts are, what you're watching, what you're betting, and make sure to like and subscribe and follow it. It makes a huge difference to us here at SportsRundown.com. Halftime in Italy now, by the way, so the Swiss will probably try to regroup and come at them again. And
LB, I don't know whether you followed me in on the Bohemians bet, but they're 3-1 up at halftime. So
nice. No, I missed it.
Host.
What odds were they?
5-2.
Nice.
Then Derry are beating Sligo 1-0, and St. Pat's and Finn Harps are drawing 2-2, just going into halftime. So I think most of the games look to be going to halftime here, apart from the Bolton and Crewe game, which obviously was an 8 o'clock kickoff, so that's going to get us through the other games are at halftime, although it doesn't seem to be that interesting. I said there's only been 1 shot on target, been 3 yellow cards, so it seems to be a feisty enough first half, or first half an hour. But for my bet, I could do with a goal in that game. Again, I've got I did an accumulator at the start where it was England and over 2.5, which that was 8-11. I can't believe that was 8-11. So it's obviously in. England are 4-0 up. I have Italy and over 2.5, which is obviously looking good, given that it's 1-1 in that game. I've Bolton versus Crewe, Bolton to win and over 2.5. It's 0-0 at the minute, but still time for goals to come. And then I've Hartlepool to win and over 2.5 in that game, and Hartlepool are 1-0 down. So obviously, if they're going to win, that's going to be met as well. So, like, a bit to do on the bet, but it was 50-1. I'm fairly happy at halftime. A few second half goals could liven it up, but I'm hoping that there's a goal somewhere in this Bolton game. Probably a Crewe goal would be the best one to get, but I suppose I don't need both teams to score, so Bolton could get a goal and could dominate. You know, they were 6-10 before the match, so obviously the bookmakers fancy them to win anyway. So they could run away with it in the second half if they do get the first one. But it's just about getting those floodgates open, as we've kind of seen more often than not. One goal kind of breeds another. Like,
yeah, big time. Another comment in from Paul. He doesn't want our anti-Kane money anyway. So, I don't know what to say to that. But
I was wondering what anti-Panner was. I was like, what is anti-Panner?
Yeah, it took me a second to get it as well. Took me a second as well. Anyway, we got all that out of the way.
A closet Harry Kane fan on our hands. So.
Yeah. What did you make of the big game last night, Gary?
Ireland, Portugal.
Yeah.
For any non-Irish watching in, the big game was Ireland, Portugal. I was fairly happy with it now. If Portugal hadn't got Ronaldo, we wouldn't I don't think they would have caused us any trouble really going forward. I think we're solid at the back. We're probably playing a little bit too much around with it at the back, but I think that needs to be done. Like, the players, not that they're young or whatever, they should be able to play football, but I think they need that confidence to know that they're playing a style of football. They need to be brave on the ball, be confident on the ball. So I can see the positives in it. Could have won it towards the end. Again, we probably need a little bit more going forward, but I think that'll come over time. And to me, there's definitely been progress. So I'm happy enough with it. What about you? I know you probably have a different opinion. You're a little bit more of a negative Nigel than me. So
I was kind of winding you up on Twitter last night with the whole. I didn't actually see what Richard Dunn said, so I can't really.
Whatever about whether you agree or disagree with what they're saying, Richard Dunn said that the performance reminded him of a performance under Mick McCarthy or Martin O'Neill era. Now, you couldn't have got more far from the style of play Ireland played last night to the McCarthy and O'Neill eras. So you can argue whether they played well, they played bad. You can argue about whether it's the right style or the wrong style. But a blind man could see that they're fucking different styles. One is playing out from the back. The others are hoofing the ball up to a big man like Johnny Walters and trying to play off the knockdowns. Ireland very rarely hoofed it last night unless they were under severe pressure and needed to get out. So it was that he's getting paid to be on Sky Sports and just talk absolute rope. So it's not that I don't people might think I'm a big Stephen Kenny fan and sitting there being Ireland are playing the best football in the world and they're going to win the World Cup and stuff. That's not what I'm saying, but you have to objectively analyze the game and go, I can see what he's trying to do and it's different to other managers. You can't just say, oh, well, it's the same as all the other Ireland managers. It infuriated me anyway. You can probably tell.
Yeah. I'm kind of. There's obviously signs of improvement there. There's no doubt about that. And even though the results are, objectively very, very poor, the performances are better than what we're used to seeing, certainly over the last 5 or 10 years. So, my slight concern is this whole. I've seen it with other teams as well, this, playing it out from the back and kind of, trying to. If you don't have the players for it, I don't know if it's actually that worthwhile a thing to chase, and I don't know if we have the players for it. I'm happy to give it a shot and see. I prefer to fail doing that than fail doing what we've been doing since, the Euros in Poland, whenever that was. So, I'm kind of on the fence about it. One thing that did stand out to me, I think other than the Serbia game, I know we conceded against Serbia quite early, but in all the other games we played this year, I'd say 90% of the goals have been in the last 5 or 10 minutes that we've allowed against us. The 2 Portugal goals were very late. The Azerbaijan goal was very late. I can't think of the Luxembourg winner or loser.
Yeah, there was one. I think there was one against Qatar, and that was in the last minute of the first half. It was a strike from 25 yards in the top corner.
Yeah, so all of those goals that we're allowing are late, which would kind of imply to me that the lads are tiring a bit mentally, maybe. The system works for 80 minutes and then they kind of fade out a bit. So that's actually kind of an encouraging thing that even though we're, everyone's kind of looking to play a more exciting attacking style of football, it's actually worked out well defensively. And I think if you're not conceding much, it doesn't take a whole lot to win games or qualify from your groups. So, on that side of it is actually quite positive. My old man was texting me last night about it, and he said, for the first time he can really remember, there's no out-and-out goal scorer in that team. And obviously, that era would have grown up, watching our, live through all our best sort of forwards. And that's probably going to hold us back for a while. And there's nothing any manager can do about that. So until we have a kind of a more clear-cut goal threat, I don't think we're going to pick up many wins. But if we're not conceding, I think it's possible. So,
yeah. And I just think, whatever about, like, again, style of plays and stuff, you can argue about that till the cows come on, but like, one of the Irish managers needed to come in and play young players. Do you know that way? Like, you could, like, it had to be done, and it was kind of a breaking point with Ireland where,
it was past breaking point. I think we broke. Oh, yeah.
But I can't remember under McCarthy or under O'Neill, like, a young player coming into the team. Like, probably under O'Neill you could say Declan Rice, and obviously he fecked off to England, but like, he was brought in, and that's about the only young player that was brought into the team. The rest of it was just kind of the old brigade that were there.
We've talked about it so many times. Guys coming in on 2-3 year contracts. Of course they're going to stick with the old guard, because there's no, why would they? It's their job on the line. They want to just grind out every bit of a result they can get and hope for the best, So I agree with that, and it was needed a kind of a clearing out, and obviously the average age of that team has plummeted now over the last 12 months. So a lot of good signs there.
Whatever about Kenny, and he mightn't get us, like, he mightn't get a contract, but assuming he gets a contract for the Euros, I think we'll qualify for the next Euros. I think we'll do reasonably all right in it. But if we don't, I think he's just put the foundations in place for a manager, like, a more experienced manager to come in and actually have players there. Like, any manager that comes in after the next Euros is going to have a squad, the average age of about 26, 27 when they're in their prime. They've all got 20 or 30, maybe 40 caps for a country. It's a lot different to coming in and playing like 18 and 19-year-olds that aren't playing for their clubs, and you're giving them their debut. So I'm not
as big a fan as Kenny as you are, but I think he
deserves it. Kenny fan. Like, I actually don't like the man. And if you go all the way back to the Shelbourne versus Derry days, like, I don't like him as a person, and I don't but I think you have to give him a chance, and I like the style of play he's playing, and I like what he's trying to do. So, but I'm not a Kenny fan. I've said that before. I'd say it again. Like,
it's going to be my point, though, is that he's not going to get a contract, or he's not going to take us on further. I really want to hear a very convincing case and plan for who the alternative is going to be. Like, if it's not him, okay, who? Because this is something we've, as a country, we've bounced around with for probably 15 years. Like, what is the actual goal for Ireland? And if it's just going to be, whatever recent Premier League manager has stopped making the cut in the Premier League, and he's going to come over to Ireland and semi-retire, and I've no interest in that anymore. So it's got to be, if it's not Kenny, okay, great. Who's it going to be, and what's the goal for 2, 5, 10 years? Because I think he's probably done enough to get another shot, another crack at the whip. So, interesting to see. I don't know. I don't think we have any games scheduled after beyond the one against Luxembourg. That's the end of our calendar for the foreseeable, isn't it? Until the groups are drawn for the Euro qualification.
Yeah, sorry, my connection was gone there, so I kind of.
Actually, anyone who's on the stream, we've lost Gary for a minute. I think that's a technical problem, so he's just back now. So bear with us.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure whether you can hear me or not, but my connection kind of went there, so apologies for that.
I can hear you, Gary, but I don't think our viewers can, so just stick with us. So now that you're back, my point was just going to be that if we're not going to have Kenny, it's going to be somebody else. I'd like to see a pretty good case put forward for why it should be someone else and what their actual plan is for the next few years, because I don't want to go back to the olden ways. So yeah, that's kind of just what I was saying when you were.
Yeah, but like that's like, that makes sense. Like, that way. Just arseways, and Ireland as a country like to do things arseways. If you look at the transport plan that they brought out during the week, like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, like, you should be running it like you're running a business. And, we know from working in large companies that succession plans are always there. They don't go, oh, great, I've got this great manager, and then I don't need to train up any of the team below them, or I don't need to have any plan because the manager is the greatest things in sliced bread. Because the manager leaves, then you're absolutely screwed. So to me, they should be building under Kenny that if he does a great job and gets poached, let's say Kenny gets us to the next Euros and we want him to stay for the next World Cup. But I don't know, like West Ham go in and ask him to be manager of their club. He's definitely going to take that or some sort of Premier League job. And then who do you get in? You can't go back to square one by going, well, anybody got Sam Allardyce's number and Sam Allardyce is like 75, So, if they have any sense, they should be building now going, okay, I think it's Jim Crawford, who is the manager of Junior 21s at the minute. So, they should be getting like Jim Crawford into the role, kind of getting his plan for the future. If they like him at the 21s, progress him into the manager once Kenny eventually leaves, and having that succession plan there. Because I think for the next 6-7 years, we're going to have to depend on youth, and we're going to have to breed our own players, because you can't depend on the English academies producing, 20 Irish players a year that are good enough to play at international level. So
I actually saw an interesting thing on Twitter about that. Just somebody basically saying before that, for a long period, one of the main immigrant groups in England was Ireland. So there was a lot of people who could have declared for Ireland. And as the kind of makeup of it, the UK changes, there's going to be less and less of those guys coming through that we can actually poach anyway. So it's, as a long-term strategy, it's not going to work for us to just keep saying, we'll pick up the scraps that don't make the cut for England. So
yeah, and even when I was growing up, like I knew a few lads who went over to England and Scotland and stuff like that. They were fairly good footballers. And I remember them talking at the time, and like, I don't know the actual stat, but I think it was something like 1.5% of the youngsters that went over from Ireland actually broke into the first team. And you'd probably got, maybe 1,500, 2,000 kids going over each year to England. So, it's only 1.5% of those that was breaking through into a first team in England. And then that's like breaking through into the first team. You could have it bad for a season and be gone. So it was like microscopic what was happening and what was breaking through, where we were having our good players and we had a pool of players like Keane and Duff and all those kind of players. So when we've kind of a little bit less of a standard and you've got a bigger pool of the wider international group, and they're getting players from, all over Europe or South America or whatever in at 13, 14, 15, it's just going to mean that, it's probably down to 0.15% rather than 1.5% of people going over. So we need some sort of strategy for the long run anyway. All of our slagging of Harry Kane has been something that hasn't aged too well, considering he has a hat-trick in the first half against Albania. So, although I didn't really slag him off for his ability, I slagged him off for the lack of input and the attitude for Tottenham this season. But you seem to think that he wasn't.
In fairness, I think between us, we'd have at least a goal between me and you against Albania, Gary. So I think I'll stick to the fact he's got one league goal so far, and not that he's going to score 14 against lowly Albania.
Oh no.
They're just kicking off now again here in Italy. So actually they're back on. So 1-1 there. We've got a couple of different bets live on that. We need at least another goal for Italy, and ideally Belotti to get involved in that action. A couple of shots would be nice. The rest of the matches should be kicking off shortly as well.
So has Belotti even had a shot? He did. He had one shot. Yeah.
Or did he? Well, not on target anyway.
Not on target, no. But he had a shot. So Chiesa's some man. He seems to play a lot better for Italy than I know he's played well for Juventus, but he seems to come alive a bit more when he's playing for Italy.
An Italian Harry Kane, is that what you're saying?
No, I think he's still putting in the effort. But
mails it in for the club. No, yeah, You see that with a lot of the Italian players. They step up the game for the national team. Much slower start to the second half than the first.
Yeah, I wonder, is Northern Ireland start back? Yeah, Northern Ireland start back as well. So, so we're only looking for one goal really there, but it's been a long time coming considering the amount of pressure they've had.
Yeah. Half-time probably came at a good time for Northern Ireland, just like a little kind of break and clear the minds after all those nearly goals.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, McGuinness has just been so unlucky. Like they're probably the right calls from the referee, but another ref on another day mightn't have given them. Like, you know, they've kind of been 60-40s in terms of correct decisions or whatever.
Insigne just picked up a yellow card there. It's one of those ones that could have been nothing yellow already. Went in studs up, but then he clearly got the ball first, but then he bounced off the ball and hit one of the Swiss guys in the leg. But I mean, straight-legged with the studs up, it's always risky. But he got a yellow there, so everyone still survived. So moving on. I'll look at some in-play bets here. The Swiss look considerably tireder now than they did at the start, so I think that they're I don't know if they're going to last the course here.
Tireder being the correct word to describe it.
What did I say?
Tireder.
Oh yeah.
More tired one, but
another interesting one. Austria were big favourites at home to Israel, and they conceded, and they're 23-10 now. Israel 6-5, so almost exactly the same pricing as the Italy game when Switzerland had taken the lead. So I might see what both teams to score is in that game or more goals.
As you were saying about the break coming at the right time for Northern Ireland, but Lithuania actually were playing. So Lithuania have come out in the first 3 minutes of the second half, and they've started to play really well. They had a corner there that was dangerous, and then Northern Ireland broke. The keeper came out, and like he could have kicked into the stands, but he decided to take a touch and fell over the ball. He was so lucky to get away with it. So yeah, like hopefully Northern Ireland come back on top, but the way the first 4 minutes have gone, apart from that counter-attack, is a little bit worrying.
I just said that I'd back Austria to score, and as I went in, they got a penalty. So penalty to Austria there, 49 minutes on the clock. So obviously can't get on that. And they've gone in from 23-10 to 3-4 to win that game. So would have been good value there on both Austria and Italy if we got them at the right time. Penalty, not yet taken, but it's all suspended. So I give up on Italy.
I'm very surprised that Slats didn't go for the Erster division today. There's one game their top boss are playing Helmond. That's 0-0 at half time, but I'm surprised he went for an international game and not his trusty old
Dutch football.
Dutch or Belgian football.
I looked at that game earlier, and it was like 21-20 or 20-21 for over 2.5. I thought it was very high for a Dutch game. I'm surprised he didn't go for it. He must have had his reasons. Apparently still not taken here.
There's a suspension here in the Northern Ireland game. I think it could be a VAR review for an elbow. Doesn't look to be given though. So two players look for the ball, and there was definitely a flailing arm, but wasn't given. Northern Ireland are on the attack now. Down the left-hand side. Cross it in. Cross it across. Oh, he missed.
Oh.
It's in the 6-yard box. Still having the 6. Oh, God. So, like, the ball came across, and it just got caught under, I think it was McCann's feet. And he kind of, like, scuffed the shot. Then it went back out. I'm not too sure who the player was. Got the ball. Took another shot. Washington took another shot. And then it kind of just dwindled out. But definitely, it's like the edge of, I suppose it was a harder opportunity than I thought it was. It was at the edge of the 6-yard box, so it wasn't the ball kind of bounced up to him. He was trying to control it.
Nice. Would have been a lovely time to get that goal. Austria scored their penalty, by the way, so now they are 4-5 to win. And Switzerland are trying the same thing they tried in the first half. Kind of overload that. I hate to use the word channel, but overload that left channel. Like 2 or 3 guys break down the wing at the same time. But you can just see they don't have the legs for it now. And Di Lorenzo or whoever is playing there at the time is just whichever side they're going on is pretty comfortable at snuffing it out. So don't really see.
I think I'm gonna do an in-play bet. Like I can see Italy winning this one. I think Bolton will win their game, and I still think Hartlepool could come back in theirs. So I'm thinking about doing that treble. It should be fairly juicy because Hartlepool are 1-0 down, so they're 8-1. So you're probably looking. I'm trying to load up here. Yeah, it's like 32-1 for that treble. So I'm gonna back it here.
So it's Italy, Austria. Oh, sorry, not Austria. Italy.
Italy, Bolton, and Hartlepool. So Hartlepool are 1-0 down. They're 8-1. Bolton are 0-0. They're 3-4, and then Italy are 1-1. And I think they were even money or something like that. So the treble pays 32-1. So be a decent interest for the remainder of the second half, and especially if Hartlepool could get one back in the next couple of minutes.
I'm going to trail you on that, but I'm going to add Austria. 3-4 there. I like the look at them, and then they get that penalty early in the second half. I think I'm going to do that. So look quickly. I'm going to look at a same game multi here. Switzerland on a good break. No, overcooked the cross. I'm going to look at a same game multi here in the Italian game, including Italy to win. I think they're, like I said, I think the Swiss look kind of cooked, and I'm going to see. I wouldn't be surprised if Bernardeschi came on soon, actually, with his, there's 2 of the Chiesa and Insigne are both on yellow cards up front for Italy. Both been putting in a lot of running, a lot of leg work, and wouldn't be surprised if there was a few changes. I can see the guys warming up now, actually, on the sideline, so I might try and get on there for a shot.
Keeper in the Northern Ireland game. So again, Northern Ireland have come back and they're like all over them. Saville took a shot. So the ball got a deflection, and honestly it was going wide, about 3 yards wide at a really slow pace. And the keeper made a massive dive to his left-hand side to tip it out for a corner. It's like it was already going out for a corner. He could have caught it. It was going that slow, but he just did an absolute meal of a save or a dive across to his left-hand side. No need for it.
I am. I'm actually seeing the problem here now. The subs aren't actually priced up once the game kicks off, which is a bit annoying. Now I'd like to get on Bernardeschi. Bonucci 6-1 for a shot on target here. He's a real leader in that team. Grabs the grain by the scruff of the neck, so I could easily see him getting on the end of a corner or something like that as the game goes on.
I was going to say, you've seen Italy score from. I know it wasn't a corner, but it was a wide free kick swung into the box. So, that seems like 6-1. Did you say
6-1 for a shot on target? 33 for 2 of them, but just the one is 6. And
I'm going to back that now.
Yeah.
Although I'm seeing the game as suspended here, it's gone now.
It was, yeah. But it's actually 12-1 for Italy to win and Bonucci to have a shot on target. So I'm going to put a tenner on that, and I can see the subs warming up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an Italy substitution soon. And when that's made, I'm hoping that it's either Bernardeschi. If it's him, I'm going to back him and Bonucci for shots. Shaqiri's drifted out to 7-2 there, and he's been kind of getting into the game a bit. My only worry is I don't know if he's gonna get hooked or not.
Because I was thinking about Insigne as well. Insigne is even money, but he's usually one of the first players to be taken off, or the Euros or anything to go by anyway. He was one of the first players to be taken off. So
and with the yellow card, I just think that if they don't win this match, they'll a lot of pressure on the game against Northern Ireland next week. So I don't think they'll be kind of protecting those guys
Gone for a 16-1 double. So Bonucci at 13-2, and then Chiesa to have one more. So it's Chiesa to have 2 shots on target, but he obviously has one already.
Nice.
So he's 6-4. So that 16-1 gives it interest.
And now make your substitutions. The lads are all warming up. Actually warming up on the pitch. Haven't seen that in a while. So yeah, I think as soon as they're made, I'm gonna get on a couple of shots. And hopefully Bonucci hasn't had his by then. And yeah, whoever comes on. What is the answer?
Northern Ireland are 1-20 to win this game, which is like, John, they're definitely going to win it. But like,
it's only 1-0.
I don't think I've ever seen Northern Ireland 1-20. I know they're 1-0 up, but 1-20 is just a mad price. Even though I think they'll do it, I wouldn't be backing it. Like,
oh, Belotti and Locatelli, my 2 guys for shots, have both been hooked there, and Berardi and Tonali have come on. Odds here now. How are they looking? They don't be priced yet, so let me refresh. So that's our official ACCA for the night anyway, Ted, because of the Belotti gone. So
Belotti's gone.
Yeah. To be quite honest, the front 3 for Italy there, so Insigne, Chiesa and Belotti, all pretty poor tonight. Very underwhelming kind of performance from them. I'll say. Shots, how are we looking here now? Belotti's still priced up for a shot on target. It's a bit sickened if you got on that.
Has he definitely gone, yeah?
Yeah. Like Locatelli's been taken out of the market. Unless they sometimes do, I don't know, like unless they're worried that the shots will be updated, the shots on target later or something like that.
Yeah, he wasn't really in the game, so I'm not sure. Like, Bernardeschi didn't come on, no?
No. This has gone suspended here, so very dangerous attack from the Italians. All right, here we're back now. They actually haven't priced up these guys who've come on, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah, it takes a couple of minutes for them to be added into the market. I'd say give it 2 or 3 minutes, they'll be added in. I know that doesn't help, but...
No, especially... I was hoping that Bonucci doesn't get his shot in the meantime. That's all I'm really hoping for.
Yeah. The classic kick you when you're down moment.
Yeah. They're really piling on the pressure now, the Italians. What odds are they gone out there? They're still even money. Like, definitely the smart play.
I can see them at 11-8 on Sky Bet.
That's even better.
But it's just that I kind of have them a bit in a lot of bets, so I don't want to go again.
At some point, you have to just cut your losses, even if it's a good price.
Yeah. Like a Hartlepool goal, and I have a good interest for the rest of the second halves, but it's all dependent. I think they need a goal in the next kind of 10 minutes. So there's 56 minutes gone in that game. If they can get one in the next 10 minutes, it gives them 25 minutes then to try and push for the winner.
Yeah.
The bet's gone. I've absolutely no interest in watching this Northern Ireland game, but I'm going to have to do it anyway.
Why is the bet gone? The other bet.
It's still for a P&L we can cheer it on.
Yeah. Oh, here the guys are. So Tonali's 5-1 and Berardi is not up yet. 9. Tonali, I wouldn't be looking at Tonali now for a shot really, but where did they only priced up one of them? Give it another minute, see if he gets added. So while we're waiting on that, what do you make it West Ham? They're on a serious run at the minute.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's unbelievable. John, the last couple of weeks have just been crazy. So suppose if you go back probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe to United away in the cup, went to that game, and you're kind of not really expecting to win, just going more hopeful than expecting. And they turned United over, and then they go on and have the mixed result. They obviously lost to Brentford, which is a disappointment, but then they beat Man City in the cup, which is unreal. And then the other day, I thought that they were worth a win over Liverpool. Like I thought, Jurgen Klopp obviously moaned a lot about the result, but I thought it was a fairly fair result. I didn't see much wrong.
I actually missed what he was complaining about.
He was so it was one of those like, I think Wenger used to always do it as well, where he'd complain about something and they'd be like, "Oh well, what about that possible penalty against Arsenal?" He's like, "Oh, I didn't see it." So like Klopp complained against he wanted a foul on Alisson for the first goal, and there was not even a hint of a foul there. Alisson was the one that engaged any sort of contact and just flapped at it. And then he wanted Creswell sent off for his challenge. Again, I can see where he's coming from with that, but I thought it was a good challenge by Creswell. It just looked worse than it was. His foot kind of bounced off the ball upwards, but he got the ball, and he didn't even catch Henderson. Henderson made an absolute meal of it. So he was giving out about those two, saying basically West Ham should have been down to 10 men and the first goal shouldn't have stood. But then when he was asked about the elbow on Ogbonna, that Ogbonna had to go off for, and the dive by Salah, he was like, "Oh, I didn't see them." So it's just a classic moan. But
go to be picking Wenger. Every single manager in world football does that, and Wenger hasn't been playing. Has been involved in about 5 years. So
but I think Wenger was the one where all the memes used to go around about it anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of the start of the memes going around the internet was at Wenger's expense. So that's probably why it stuck out in my head. But look, it's a great time, like going to West Ham season ticket holder. You're going kind of not worried about relegation, like hoping for wins, and the players are putting in a shift on the pitch. But I have to say I was very disappointed with Liverpool in terms of what they were doing on the pitch. Like, it was just like they were diving. Every decision that was kind of 50-50, they were in the ref's face. I just didn't like kind of that attitude at all. And actually it soured, like I would have no opinion on Liverpool really. But it soured any opinion I have of them. So I hope they never win anything again. Like, they're just disgusting team, disgusting club. So I was absolutely disgusted with them. Because the annoying thing is they've got great players, but trying to win games by jumping about and harassing referees and stuff, they're better than that. And I said it was just disappointing to see. So they're in my bad books.
Yeah. It's funny to see the like, obviously, because West Ham are competing with those teams now, so it matters to you a lot more. But I mean, that carry on has been going on for as long as I can remember watching football. Like, I can remember United, even with Keane, like screaming in the ref's face, and you know what I mean. Yeah, so I don't like it. It's soured football for me generally, to be honest. That type of carry on, but been around a while.
If there's a bad challenge, or if there's something that, like, an offside or a handball or something that's like, kind of clear that the ref is missing, you can see that, like, you don't want to take passion out of the game. But like, there was one in I think it was the second half of the game, and like, Robinson could have got onto a ball. Like, so the ball was running free and there was a potential foul. Like, two players came together, like an incident. And instead of running and getting on the ball and potentially having a chance to go on goal, Robinson ran away from the ball towards the referee to complain about, like, whatever it was. But it wasn't like a nailed on foul. And I have to watch the incident back to see was it even a foul. But in real time, it just looked like two players came together. But his first reaction was, go harass the referee, not the ball is still there available for me to play. And you've got players like Salah who, he'll probably win Ballon d'Or. He'll definitely be in the top 3 for that. But like, he's way too good to be going around diving. And that's the second year in a row where he's like dived and won a goal scoring opportunity. So the last time Masuaku kicked the end of his foot and there was contact, but like Salah took another step and then dived, and I think Masuaku might have been sent off. He definitely got booked, and it was a penalty to Liverpool. And then this year, the dive outside the box, Alexandria stuck at the top corner. But it's like, that's what the annoying thing is that Liverpool are so good. They have the players to score those type of goals, like, world-class goals into the top corner. They don't need to go around with all this kind of trickery and, just dirty business. Like, if they just come out and played football, they'd hammer most teams in the league. Like, it's annoying.
Yeah.
What isn't annoying is that Hartlepool have equalised against Newport, so that bet is back live at 8-1. So Hartlepool winner, 25 minutes left. So that would be.
Did you back that as a single or just in the treble?
So just in the treble. So 33-1, I think. Trying to find the bet here now. That many bets on, I can't find it. Yeah, slight increase in cash out. So I need Bolton and Italy. So 3 goals, Bolton, Italy, Hartlepool, 3 home teams. 25 minutes left in Italy and Hartlepool, and then nearly a full half left in Bolton. So it's going all right. I'll take the 33-1 if it comes in.
Yeah, Bonucci up here for a corner for Italy. First man cleared it. I didn't see who it was. It might have even been Berardi for Italy. He broke into the box and then kind of just, stopped the ball dead and turned back on himself. Could easily have gone down for a penalty because the Swiss defender kind of went through his legs and he just stepped over him. So nice to see someone not taking the easy option down. But I mean, I think it would have been a penalty. I don't see how it wouldn't have been a penalty if he'd gone down. But stayed on his feet, crossed it in, cleared for a corner, and that led to the corner we just mentioned. So Italy really dominating here now. Very intricate passing around the box, but let's see what happens. Oh God, an awful shot there. Insigne, was it? Skied it. Your bet's looking pretty solid now.
Bolton are a dangerous attack here and it's gone suspended, so I'm hoping that turns into a home goal. Again, it's annoying I can't watch this game. I'd like him to watch it.
Yeah, they just zoomed in there. It was Berardi who could have taken the penalty. So admirable of him not to go down.
Yeah.
So back to West Ham for a minute. What's from this point, what would make it a satisfactory end to the season, or what would be an unsatisfactory end to the season? What's a realistic target now for the Hammers? Well,
getting into Europe again, I think would be good. So, top 6 would probably get them into Europe. So if they could finish 5th or 6th again, I think that would be. You couldn't complain about it. But at this point, I'd be really forgetting about the league and trying to win a cup. They're in the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup, obviously playing Tottenham away, which is going to be a difficult game. Depends how Conte sets up. I know Nuno is playing kind of Bolton have gone 1-0 up, it was a penalty.
Nice.
So that bet's well and truly on. That bet's betting on 2 goals now, Hartlepool and Italy. But yeah, so if they can get through Tottenham, it could actually be one of the best cup runs in a long time. If you beat Man United, Man City, Tottenham, and then they'll probably be up against the Liverpool or an Arsenal in the semi-final or final. So you could go on a run against all top-level Premiership teams. That'd be insane. The Europa League is obviously going to be tough to win, but they're into the knockout stages of that. And then obviously if they can get a coin draw in the FA Cup, try and go on a run there. So if I was Moyes, I'd be looking to go for some sort of silverware, because a club like West Ham haven't had silverware in a long time. And
he's in the history books if he wins anything at West Ham, really, isn't he?
That's it, and their pathway to Europe as well. I know you have to go into the earlier qualifying rounds or whatever, but that'd be the way I'd be thinking anyway. Just try and
Yeah. The funny thing is, for teams like West Ham, you exclude your Man Cities and those type of clubs where they're realistically looking at April and May. They're in Champions League finals or title races, so the early start wrecks the season for them. But for clubs like West Ham that are not realistically going to be at that, there's no harm in starting your season a bit earlier as well. You know what I mean? They're much sharper then by the time the league comes around. Maybe they fade off a bit late on, but it's unlikely to have as big an impact. And, the Europa League, I mean, they have as good a chance as anybody at winning it, but I mean, it's just such a slog of a competition that you couldn't really be banking on it at all. But Napoli, Lyon, Lazio, Leicester, all these other the Spanish teams all in there. So yeah, it's looking good.
When you get to the it's grand in the group stages being able to do it, but when you get to the knockout stages and you're up against teams who you play against, like I was saying, the kind of the dark side that Liverpool were showing off at the weekend. Like, if you play against Napoli or something, so they're going to be diving all over the place, and the players wouldn't be used to that. So
it's funny though. You say that a lot, like on the stream. You refer to kind of the penalty in Europe and not in England. Like, I would say the Premier League is as bad, if not worse, than the Continental League now for diving. It was certainly it started in Italy and Germany, the diving and the carry on, but just Liverpool are among the worst in Europe for it. I mean, I don't think that it's a whole lot worse when you see the likes of Napoli or the Spanish teams at it. So, and we'll see Italy dominating here now again, another corner. Hopefully, Bonucci gets on the end of this one.
Not to turn this into a West Ham show, but just one last comment on West Ham. Like, it'd be interesting now with the new part owner. I don't know whether you saw that during the week.
The Czech fella.
So yeah, Kravensky, I think his name is, or Kravensky. So he's worth something like £6 million, or £6 billion, sorry.
I think it probably cost him more than that too.
Yeah, think about my own bank balance. No, like £6 billion he's worth, and if they've kind of sold it as he's going to clear the debt and things like that. But if they could buy another striker, cover for Antonio, they probably need cover at left back, and maybe another centre midfielder. They'll have a squad then that's ready to compete in all of those competitions. My worry for West Ham is that they get found out in the back end of the season. When
there is a risk. Like, my feeling on West Ham is that really happy to see them do well, and I do hope they pick up a trophy this season. But you'd kind of be worried that if you look at a lot of the players who are performing now, whatever their natural level is, they're certainly playing above their historical standard. So it's is there an element of what happened with Leicester where they all just clicked around the same time? And I mean, that's full credit to the coach for getting that out of them. It's not just magic, but have they all clicked at the same time? And is there room then for a couple of those players to go off the boil? So you were saying that is the squad deep enough to account for a hamstring injury to Antonio or something like that, where there's just a couple of the key cogs are not available or just not at the level for a month and a half.
Yeah, and just funny you mentioned Leicester there. So I haven't fact checked this, so apologies if it's incorrect, but I heard that, and again, a lot more teams lost games in that season that Leicester won the league. United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City were all pretty shit that season. And probably lost a record amount of games throughout the whole season if you look at it. But West Ham actually have a point more than Leicester had at this stage of the season versus the year that Leicester won the league. You do have to put them in there as title contenders, even though realistically they're not. But again, the West Ham fans are doing it well. I think they're not getting ahead of themselves. They've been singing West Ham are massive at the games, and a lot of people have been triggered by it. But I've
seen that on Twitter as well. I mean, that's the first sign that you're taking yourself too seriously. I don't know. I've seen a few of those comments. Probably you liking them is how I'm seeing them.
Yeah, but
I don't think as many people are as triggered as it looks on Twitter.
No, they're just taking the piss, I think. So, anyway, overall, good to be West Ham season ticket holder at this stage, and a bit of a break in the games. And the next one is going to be City away in 2 weeks, I think. because I couldn't get to the Wolves away next week. But yeah, that's draw a little bit of a break from them, but they came thick and fast there for a while. So just while we were talking, Bolton have gone 2-0 up. So
nice.
My 50-1 shot is actually live at the minute. Now, it's still a big enough ask, but I need a Hartlepool winner, an Italy winner, and another goal in the Bolton game to land that 50-1 shot. So, like, a little bit of a long shot, but it's not dead in the water, which is
for Italy, I mean, I'd be pretty happy with waiting on Italy here, another corner.
And you know what? That would actually put me close to landing the 33-1 as well. So, like, if I can get one more goal in Bolton, a Hartlepool winner and an Italy winner, it'll be like basically an 80-1 shot that I'll be getting up. So,
nice.
Fingers crossed.
Great chance there. Someone good shot on target from someone there from the kind of reflect or the rebound of the corner for Italy. And they really are banging on the door here. One of those there to just win the game. Still suspended now.
If you went with Slats' bet in a single of Northern Ireland to win and over 1.5 goals, like there's 30 minutes left, so there's still a chance for it to come in. But it's one of the most astonishing bets that hasn't come in because there's been so much goal-mouth action, particularly for Northern Ireland. But Lithuania have come back into it in the last few minutes, and they've had a few chances. So the 1.5 element, that I said, my mind is boggled how it hasn't come in.
Yeah, but I said it at the start when the chances aren't going in, like the ball has been in the net, it's been ruled out twice and cleared off the line, like that's where you get your goals. So it's they're only going to have 10 chances in a match, and 5 of them got taken off them in the first half. You'd have to start worrying about your goals bet. That stat you said about the Leicester season is interesting because I mean, not to take it away from them, but it was definitely probably the worst Premier League season in recent memory. Sorry, that I can remember in terms of how poor everybody was. But I mean, West Ham. I mean, I wouldn't back West Ham at any odds to win the Premier League. I don't think they'll do it. But what are they, 3 points off the top? So I mean, there's no way to say they're not in contention. Do you know what I mean? They have to lose 2 matches before they'd be caught up. Like Liverpool are 2 matches behind them, I think, in terms of the points. Are they 6 points?
Yeah, I think so. Just on the like that season, the thing that defines how bad the top teams were that season for me is it was like I went to the Tingle Creek at Sandown that year with a few friends, and one of their fathers was there, and had a day at the horses. I don't think it was a successful day. So, whatever, 100 quid down or whatever it was, probably more after a few points and stuff. And we get into a pub afterwards, and the father turned around and was like, "Oh, I want to back Leicester to win." And Leicester were like 10-1. So I was like, "Sure, I'll lay them to you to save you going to the bookies." Like, so he was like, "Oh, will you give me 20 quid on at 10-1?" I was like, "Yeah." I think Leicester won like 3-0 or something. Right. And then when they scored the second goal, he like celebrated so much, he knocked my point out of my hand and all over my. So I had a pair of like brown trousers on me, kind of looked like tan trousers. So the point went over them. I had to go home and change. I was down about 500 quid. It was like the worst day ever. Like, so that just defines my my memory of that Leicester season. Like,
God, there are a load more substitutions here now in the Italian match. Gas. It was a really strange.
That Bonucci nearly got his head on a corner there.
Yeah, just got pinched off him, so a bit annoying. And poor old Bernardeschi not getting a nod at all. 5 substitutions for Italy now, and he's none of them. So Raspadori got the nod ahead of him. He's not.
Do you know what? That treble will go to. So if he's not coming on, that treble is going to go to a double. So we actually need a Northern Ireland goal and a goal in Hartlepool Newport for that to pay out, I would say.
That's actually true. Yeah, he won't. Yeah, he's not. He can't come on now. He's because they made all the substitutions. So
I'm going to check just to see if there's any sort of cash out available for it or what the story is. Yeah, so it has done it like there's a cash out, but it's a low cash out. But I think that leg will go void and we'll end up with just the double. Now it won't pay that much, obviously, because I think he was the tasty leg in there. But still, I take it. To be honest, I take the stake back at this stage. Like so.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's actually a good point about taking kind of slightly fringe players for the shots or whatever, because if they don't come on, then you get your money back. So 10 minutes to go here now in the Stadio Olimpico.
I flicked from like Betfair into Sky Bet, and I saw a game was 2-1. I thought it was the Hartlepool Newport game. I was nearly celebrating, but I was looking at the Edinburgh Stranraer game below it, unfortunately. So
Scottish League 2 or whatever it was. How are the League of Ireland games looking?
So it's the same as half time. So Derry are 2-0 up. Bohemians are 3-1 up. And then St. Patrick's Harps is 2-2, but it's actually just gone suspended. I didn't actually know you can watch the games. They have live streaming on Sky.
Yeah, it's pretty. They have it on Betfair too. It's pretty patchy though.
Finn Harps have just had a player sent off. So they're going to be playing the last 8 minutes with 10 men. St. Pat's have a dangerous free kick that's being described from the right-hand side. Trying to watch.
Never know what to make of those dangerous free kicks. Like, is it just inside the halfway line or what is it?
Yeah. Well, it must have been. I'd say it must have been a fairly good position if the player got sent off or whatever. Obviously, it could have just been a terrible challenge, but the fact that it was sending off, he might have been like last man or something like that. I can't remember my logins for Sky Bet, so I can't actually watch the game. I was going to log in, but you need to log in to watch it on it.
Italy doing everything right except the final ball. So,
would you say both teams will start to take a point here? But I suppose Italy will take a point more than Switzerland would, because Italy are ahead on, I think, goal difference, is it, or games ahead?
Italy are ahead of them in the table as it stands. So Italy, like, they look to be throwing the kitchen sink at it here. I don't see why they'd settle for the point. But like you said, I suppose they're ahead of them. Maybe they will. They don't look to be doing it so far. 7 minutes to go. Oh my God, there's some dangerous passing out from the back here by Donnarumma. Yeah.
No one worse than having a player back for a shot on target and blasting over from a decent position. Like,
yeah. Bonucci now just made his 100th pass of the game. He's the most of anyone on the pitch, and he just cannot freaking get his head on a corner. Come on.
Yeah. A goal in either Italy or Hartlepool would kind of liven things up for me here, because I need both home teams there to land these bets. Like,
how long is left in the Hartlepool game? Same as this one. Like 80
so
something.
8 minutes left in both of them, and then I'll need another goal in Bolton to land the 50-1. But like, there's still 25 minutes left in Bolton, so I'm not really too worried about that. And it's any goal in Bolton as well, so even a Crewe getting one back would kind of land it. So
yeah, he's had a shot inside the box, plenty of time, but he just kind of leaned back, never got over the ball, and he just lashed it over the bar. So could have done better. He dropped to his knees afterwards, slightly theatrically. I think he could have done better with that, and I think he knows it too. So chance got
he's
a
one of
big
the most Italian people.
Yeah,
you see, he's always got the expressions, whether it's facial expressions or that kind of dropping to the knee, complaining to the ref, whatever it might be.
Yeah. 85 minutes now. Italy still breaking forward in numbers, so they're really pushing for this here. I guess it'd be a big night in Rome. If they win this, they know that they're guaranteed going to the World Cup. It's it's much better than just scraping it against Northern Ireland in Belfast on the final day.
Yeah.
Counter-attack on here now for Italy, but they're getting a bit leggy themselves.
It's mad. Like Betfair seems to just have that game permanently suspended for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I was wondering, was that just my feed? Do you know what? It's because it's so end to end. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason. Like it just is chance to chance, you know. Maybe it's easier to just take the hit on it. 3 guys in the box now for Italy, and they're bringing it around the final third. So they're the last ball is always so poor. Definitely looks like the pressure is building. But like you said, a draw here keeps their fate. They control of their own destiny. So,
still suspended here.
Yeah, there's nothing on the pitch. I think it's just being suspended. I don't know.
I'm looking here and it says there's a VAR check. I don't know whether it was for that kind of challenge in the box, the penalty challenge, or like whether they're querying a penalty. Looked to be an Italian player kind of pushed over in the box there a second ago.
Yeah, you must be gone a bit ahead of me. So I wonder who'll take that penalty for if you get a penalty. Probably Chiesa. Or Jorginho, does he take penalties?
Yeah, Jorginho is one of the best penalty takers in Europe.
Yeah, that's right. Seeing it here. That'd be some soft penalty, though.
Come on, no.
Given.
It's a given, yeah.
Not on my screen, but Italy are 1-4 now to win the match.
Okay, yeah. Like, he does push them in the back. Soft, but...
His hand are on his back more than a push, but like... Yeah, being given.
I'll take it if they score anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be totally honest with you. I wouldn't mind a Hartlepool goal right now.
Yeah. Johan Garcia, what's his name? Yeah, Garcia gets booked for that. So, oh God, I think has it been overruled, or has it been missed? The odds have jumped anyway, but my feed is not up to speed yet. They're now 17-2 to win, so he certainly didn't score the penalty.
It's Jorginho taking it anyway.
I've seen it there. Puts it wide. Oh my God.
Does he?
Well, just as you go, the best penalty taker in the world, of course he was going to miss after that.
I know.
Anyone who's new to the stream, we have the most ridiculous record in the world at missing penalties on this stream. Like, it's actually laughable at this stage. So, we should have not been surprised there.
I'm just watching the draw here now.
Draw went out to 4-1 when Italy were given that penalty. Would have been wise to jump on it, considering our record.
See, I was going to mention that, but you think Jorginho would score, but let me see now the penalty. I haven't seen it yet. He's just about to take it here. Oh my God, he skied it.
Absolute. But you know what? Look at his face there, and he's holding the ball. Like, he doesn't look comfortable. Do you know? And I know it's easy to say afterwards, but it's so often you see a player looks a bit uncomfortable or nervous taking a penalty, and they invariably miss them.
I'll be absolutely sick if it costs me my bet. But normally he does a little hop and places it in the corner. Now is definitely the way the ball was on the spot. It took a weird bounce, or a kind of weird trajectory on it. But it wasn't Jorginho's normal style of penalty anyway. I don't think I've ever seen him put his foot through the ball like that, taking a penalty.
Yeah, poor. 89 minutes, nearly guaranteed win if he'd got it.
Yeah, it's so disappointing now.
Yeah. I read an interview with him during the week and he was talking himself up as well, Jorginho. I remember that. I definitely would have laid the penalty.
Yeah, was it Jorginho that was being touted for Ballon d'Or, and he was saying, "Oh, it'd be great to win it for other players. They know that they don't have to score like 20 goals a season to be in with a chance of it or whatever." I think it could have been him. Then he
was him. Again, that's laughable that he's in that Ballon d'Or conversation. I don't even think he was Italy's best player in the Euros or Chelsea's best player in the Champions League. How does he get? How's he the best?
He was good, but not like best in the world good. Like,
but Chelsea's run to the Champions League final, can't they get like man of the match in 3 of the 4 games or something like that?
Yeah, sure. I had him backed. Well, no, sorry, I can't they backed in the World Cup. Sorry for
in the Euros, yeah.
Yeah, the Euros. Sorry for a player of the tournament.
Yeah,
I was like, I thought I had it in Champions League. I was like, no, I don't even know where you can do that bet.
Is there even a player of the Champions League? Does that exist?
Yeah, I don't think so. Like,
yeah. Ball into the box here.
Frustrating now.
Yeah, really frustrating. Especially with the games looking so good at half time. Yeah, very frustrating end. All right.
I said, like, how Northern Ireland. So like we still have that double live. Like assuming that's going to be voided. The Italy leg because the player didn't play. So like we just need a goal in the 2 games. But Northern Ireland should have been about 6-0. Like, still 1-0 with a minute and a half to play.
Yeah. 2 minutes of injury time nearly up here in Rome. Italy still throwing everything at this, but we've said it so many times, they just look desperate now more than anything else. I suppose on the counter here, maybe it should be a yellow card. Oh, they're getting sliced apart. All right, someone got back and nicked the ball. Oh God, Switzerland nearly scored. Donnarumma has been very, very suspect tonight. Couple of sloppy, like the ball, a pass back to him that he miscontrols and then nearly concedes a goal because of it. And then the ball was nearly pinched off his feet twice, playing it out from the back. Italy have not been at the races tonight. I thought they were. They looked sharp the first couple of minutes of the game, and then since then they've just been. I know you're saying that there was a period when they didn't look sharp, but I mean probably before what you're talking about, like the first 5 minutes they looked all right, and they just maybe the end of the first half as well they looked okay. But most of this game they've been nothing like European champions anyway. 3 minutes up on the clock.
Looks like Finn Harps are going to hang on for a point against St. Pat's, LB.
Oh, well. And if you hang on with 10 men, you deserve it anyway, so. It's just funny you were saying about Liverpool. Italy have a tendency to do it as well. Like they can be very quick to just resort to diving, and they have the quality to win games. We saw it in the Euros, but like, what the ball looks like it's just gone too far ahead of, I don't know who it was there, maybe Insigne, and he just drops to his knees, and it just seems so unnecessary. So let's see what's added on here now. 95 on the clock. So this really should be over. Yep, gone. Full time. So that's the end of that. Yeah, disappointing end to that match, really, if I'm honest about it. Had hoped for something in the second half, never came. So that is the end of that. Just
to correct the record here, so Newport scored in the last minute to make that 2-1. So the over 2.5 of that leg came in, the recommendation on that treble. So that's a good point for the night for me, but and that would have been a sickener because it would have cost me the other bet. We need to go the other way around. But
Northern Ireland game is over, is it?
Northern Ireland game was over, finished 1-0. Don't know how it finished 1-0. So, yeah, disappointing. But
so it was actually a good campaign there for Northern Ireland. 8 points out of that group. Italy and Switzerland, 2 of the stronger teams in the Euros.
Yeah, probably especially with like the change of manager and stuff. I know Baraclough was kind of part of the setup, but still not the main man there. So him taking over, it's still fairly good. So
yeah. So Northern Ireland host Italy and Switzerland host Bulgaria. That's the last 2 matches. So the likelihood is they both be favourites anyway. They probably both win, and Italy win the group on goal difference is how that's looking. That's the end of the football there. Do you have any bets live, Gary, still?
No, my bets are gone now.
Same as myself.
Unfortunately.
All right, so I'd say we wrap up the football segment here, and we'll come back for the American football in a little moment. So anyone who is familiar with the stream again, you'll know what we do. Take a small break here. When we come back, and our friend PK will be with us, and we'll go through the Circa Millions competition. We'll make our picks for that, and then that's the end of the show. So thank you for watching. Kind of a funny night in terms of the football. Not really much happened in the second half. Pretty entertaining first half, but it's not after that. So we'll wrap it up there. So thanks for watching, and we will see you back same time next week.
Cheers, guys.
Hello and welcome back to the NFL segment of the Sports Rundown Betalong. The Circa Millions pick is what we do at this stage of the show. So anyone again who is new to the show, we go through the board. You can see it on the screen, and we make our picks for the Circa Sportsbook Sports Million competition in Las Vegas. It's a new quarter, so a lot of pressure this week. Clean slate. Hopefully we get off to a better start than any of the previous quarters. PK, welcome back. How are you?
Yeah, good lad, G.
Wasn't PK.
Yeah, all good here.
Well, I'm hoping of a slightly better week this week than last week. I think everything I touched American football-wise went wrong last weekend. So
I think a lot of people have that story in American football over last week, and even last night continued that then, John. I think money line the Ravens, you would have been fancying them, and then they go and lose to the Dolphins. Like, it's mental.
Yeah,
I saw some guy had I think he had 400 grand on them last night. So absolutely sick.
On the spread or the money line?
Money line.
It's looking at probably 3 to 10 there, was it? Like 30%
Yeah, I think it was
back.
pretty low.
Yeah.
It seemed like a gimme though. So anyway, we'll dive in. We won't dwell on that. So the first game up tonight, or first game we're going to look at tonight, is the Jaguars at the Colts. Colts 10.5-point home favorites here. So outside 2 scores. Gary, what do you think of that one? 10.5.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to think of the Jags after last week. Like, were the Bills just absolutely terrible? And I said the Jags won 9-6, or are the Jags actually stepping up and trying to get something going? I'd probably just take that the Bills had an off week. We'll get on to a bit more when we talk about the Bills game. So I haven't got this as one of my picks, but I would take the Colts -10. They've been fairly good in recent weeks. They're on a decent run of form. I'd expect the Titans to win. It's a bit large of a spread, so that's why I'm leaving it out. If it was 8.5, I'd take it. 10.5, you're starting to get into a bit of trouble territory. So that's my own reason for leaving it.
What about you, PK? What do you make of that one?
Yeah, I think the Bills just had an off week last week. Like, the Jags defense hasn't shown anything this year to make you think that they're anyway good. At least the Bills struggled against Miami as well until the fourth quarter the week before. And if the game last night is anything to go on, maybe Miami's defense is pretty decent. I think you take last week's game out of it. Like, you think about last week, they played Thursday night, the Colts played the Jets, and they put up 40-odd points and just let them back in garbage time, which is also a worry at this line. But the Jags just can't really score either.
But you said they still covered 10.5 against the Jets. They won by 15 in the end.
Just about, though, because they nearly conceded one towards the end of that as well. But I'm happy to take, I have this in my 5, the 10.5 here, because the Jags scored 3 1 week and then 6, and then 9 last week to beat the Bills. Like, if they scored less than 15 here, the Colts cover easy. I don't see how the Colts score less than 30 against the Jags.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. PK was my pick number 5. If you look at the Colts games, I mean, they're not really doing it against the big names. I mean, they lost to Baltimore in overtime. They lost to the Titans. If you look at their games against, the Texans, the Dolphins, the 49ers, even the Jets, like, they're beating all these guys comfortably by double digits. I think you can discount last week. So this is my pick number 5. So it's 2 picks from me and PK, and a lean from Gary. So probably going to go in, but we'll see how we come back to it a little bit later on. The next one up, this one certainly caught me badly last week, but the Browns 2.5 point road underdogs in New England. Patriots laying 2.5 points at home. I think this line opened at 1.5. It's moved to 2.5 now. So PK, what do you think of that one? Is 2.5 about right, or would you still be tempted?
I think it's about right. I mean, the Browns are under pressure now, right? They're 5-4. They're in a tough division. I mean, they're going to have to start working, but the Pats have really, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, they keep stuffing me, but they seem like a legit contender now. The Bills have stuttered now. They're going to have to up it in that division this week. But I think it's about right here. It's not two good teams that still have points to prove. So it's a game I'm willing to leave alone at that spread. It's a coin flip for me, to be honest with you.
Gary, what about you? We lost Gary, or have we lost me?
Sorry, I'm back now. No. Sorry, it was. Can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, my connection went there for a second. So I didn't hear the end of what PK said, but I agreed with everything he said at the start. The Patriots are a team I think starting to go on a roll. Which have won their last 3 games. I've beaten 2 decent teams in the last 2, and then obviously blew away the Jets earlier on. So they're starting to get a bit of momentum. The Browns did well to win last week. I think we all read a little bit too much into the OBJ story. Obviously, he's gone now, but they still have, kind of a build-up of injuries across the squad, so both on offense and defense. I know Chubb has been ruled out today. He's still on protocol with COVID, so that's a loss. Felton was already out, so they're down to Dearness Johnson. From a running back perspective, I take the Patriots here based on that. I don't think that the Browns will be terrible. I think they'll get a few scores on the board. I think there's probably actually value to be had with the Browns. So another down one, their tight ends, I can't remember his name. But I was looking at David Njoku, he's 5-1 anytime. He might get bigger, and I just saw him with Betfair, he's 5-1. So he might be a decent play for anytime touchdown. And same with Peoples-Jones. He was 2-1. Again, I haven't checked the broader market, but he was 2-1 with Betfair. So one of those will be going into my anytime touchdown ACCA on Sunday. But I'd be with the Patriots here -2. I think they'll have just enough to squeak by.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as PK on this one. I don't really see any value on either side of the line, so I'm happy to skip it. We can look at it at the end. Is that a pick for you, Gary, or a lean?
Yeah, no, it's a pick for me. I
mean, the Chubb being out thing does kind of sway it slightly, but I mean, the last time they only had Dearness Johnson. I mean, he had a night, didn't he? He went for 120 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns that night. So, I mean, they're built on their run game. So, but the Pats have quite a rock solid defense now. So, I think it's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, and what they do have as well is like defensive wise. So, I think they're 3rd or 4th in the league in total defense. But their run defense is probably, I'd say, if it's not top, it's definitely the top 2. So, they're not going to be totally bowled over, I wouldn't say, even with the injuries. But I just think New England will probably squeak, and the 2.5, as a field goal, I like those kind of lines, so I'd be leaning towards it.
Okay. We move on then. The next one up is the Falcons, which is, we've tried to exclude them from these in recent weeks. Falcons go to Dallas or Darlington. They take on the Cowboys. They're picking up 9 points on the road. And we go to you first, Gary, seeing as you hate the Cowboys and you hate backing the Falcons. So where do you stand on this one, 9 points?
It's not really that I hate the Cowboys. I hate backing either of these. It's a game that I just have no opinion on, to be honest. No opinion. I have no opinion on it. Basically, I can never get either of these right. When I'm hot on the Falcons, I think they're onto something. They lose in the most silly manner. And then, I was hot on the Cowboys last week and they got beaten out the gate. So, they're two sides that I could just never seem to get right. So I'm better off leaving it alone, I think.
PK.
Yeah, I'm with Gary on this one. I mean, you could flip a coin on this because, like, which of either side, like, you have to trust that the Cowboys recover from what was definitely their worst performance of the year last week. But like, what version of the Falcons are going to show up? Like, they rarely get smashed. I think I'd be inclined to stay inside with the Falcons, but like, I mean, you can't touch this game at that line. It's just there's no value in it.
I'm the same. I think the Cowboys, I think they were perfect against the spread until last week, and then they just got absolutely stuffed. And it's very hard to know how they're going to recover from that. Are they going to bounce back, or are there going to be some hangovers? And then, like you said, the Falcons don't really get blown away in 9 points. That game went to overtime. I don't think anyone would be too surprised. I mean, the Cowboys have gone to overtime a couple of times this season anyway, in games people expected them to win. So, you know what I mean? You've lost your 9 points there straight away. I think it's a unanimous skip there from all of us, so we'll move on past that one. From big home favourites to big road favourites here, the Bills are 11.5 point road favourites to travel to New York, taking on the Jets, or travel within New York, taking on the Jets. It's a big line here. It is the biggest of the week, 11.5. So we go to you first, PK. Are the Jets that bad?
The Jets are that bad, defensively anyway. Lord knows they might put something together in offense with the couple of young wide receivers that this Mike White guy seems to be able to link up with. But the question here is, do you have any faith in the Bills' offense anymore? But other than the fourth quarter against Miami, like against Miami and the Jags, they've looked horrendous. But can the Jets actually do anything defensively to stop them? I'm not sure, but with so many question marks, I'm inclined to leave this one alone.
And that's kind of my stance too, as well. There's been a lot of, blank quarters for the Bills, and 40 minutes into games where they just don't really look like they're going to light it up. And if they get certain, they're getting points late on, great. But 11.5 is a lot on the road. And the Jets, as much as the Jets are poor, they do score. They're scoring 20 plus in nearly every game, and that means the Bills need to get into the 30s. And I don't know. I think it's too high a line. I don't really like. I have no time for the Jets, so I couldn't be taking the Jets plus here. But it's a skip for me with the line at that height. As what do you make of that one?
I agree with what you're saying, Joe. I think if you had said to anybody that the Bills were going to play, what would it be, 6-7 quarters of football against the Dolphins and the Jags, and they're only going to score 9 points or something like that, they scored, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, you would have got 1,000,000 to 1, I'd say, on that happening. So there is definitely something up on offense with them. I can't quite put my finger on it. I know Zach Moss is questionable, although he'll probably play. Then on the flip side, you look at it and you go, right, well, it's the Bills who on paper have one of the best offenses in the league, have a quarterback who can do it through the air and on the ground, and they're up against a team who give up an average of over 31 points a game. It really should be, if you look at it from that lens, a game that you plow into and say, yeah, the Bills all day long. But I think we'd be wise to leave it alone and look for value somewhere else. The one thing I would say is I know Dawson Knox returns in this game. And he's kind of a player that makes them tick on offense. He's like, him and Allen have a really good connection. So maybe that will kind of spark a bit of life into him. Although he did break his hand or fracture his hand. So I'm not too sure how you come back 3 weeks later and start playing a game where catching the ball is one of the fundamental parts of it. Some human growth hormone or something going on there. But he's back on Sunday. So I think that might spark them into life a bit.
I was going to say he might be able to throw a touchdown for them. He threw for that 2-point conversion, right? The last time that was his last snap. So, they need something, but I think a lot has to do with them establishing some sort of run game. It's just not. They have Singletary and Moss, but it's not really doing anything. It's it's not taking any of the pressure or focus off of Allen in their offense, and most defenses know that once you stop Allen playing, then you stop the Bills. And that's
if they come out and they put those 2 bad games behind them and they're 20 points up at halftime, I don't think anyone would be surprised. But at the same time, the kicking yourself feeling that if we take them here minus 11.5 and they're it's a 3-point game going into the final quarter, we'll just feel like absolute plonkers. So
that's it. You'd be sitting there on Sunday and it'll be 0-0 at half time, and you're like, how is this happening? And why?
We knew but what you're saying is we knew this was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen. So yeah.
I mean, the Pats are starting to they're gaining ground on the Bills in that division, so they really need to turn it on now. I mean, this is a game they can't afford to leave behind. So, I mean, pressure's there now.
Yeah. Okay, the next game up, the New Orleans Saints travel to Tennessee. They take on the Titans. The line here is 3 points for the Titans. I had a little bit of a wobble earlier in the season, but it's probably time people start taking them seriously. So we go to you, Gary, on this one. Laying 3 points at home, are they field goal favourites? Is that right?
Yeah, I think on form you have to take them. Now the Saints are one of those teams, and their form shows that how you can beat the Bucks one week and then lose to the Falcons the next. Just mind-boggling stuff. But I think the Titans, as you said, starting the game momentum on a win streak, trying to beat the Rams, to beat the Colts, to beat the Chiefs, beat the Bills. That's good form. That way I don't see how you could back against them. If it was 5 points, you'd start to be getting a bit worried, but 3 points, they should be able to cover. So, yeah, Titans all day long for me.
PK?
I mean, yeah. I was convinced the Saints would cover and kind of beat the Falcons easy last week, and it just didn't happen. It's not one I'd like to touch, just because, as I said, the Saints did beat the Bucks the week before, and when you put them in a big game like this, they tends to be when they show a lot more grit. The Titans, fair play to them for playing so well without Henry, but I feel the line is right here. I feel like it's that sort of game. It's a field goal game, so I just like to leave this one alone.
Yeah, it's hard not to make in New Orleans. They covered and they don't, and they covered and they don't. And that's been their pattern all season. Picking up more wins than not, but still not really looking great. So I'm the same as Gary. I quite like the Titans here. I've put them into the private competition. I agree with your point a little bit, PK. It could easily backfire on us. The Saints definitely have big gains in them. We saw it against Green Bay. We saw it against Tampa Bay. So they can do it, but for me, it was a pick as well. So that's 2 picks on this one, and then a skip from PK. So probably going to go in, but we'll see how the rest of the board pans out as we move on down. This is the next game up. Speaking of Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers travel to Washington, and they are 9.5-point road favorites here. So another big away line here. We'll go to you this time, PK. What do you make of that? Will the Bucs get back on track?
Yeah, I think after the bye week, I think we'll see them. We'll see them come back, and obviously with the Saints slipping up last week, it gives them a chance to put some more breathing room, and the Saints having a tough game against the Titans, obviously. I mean, in most people's opinion, Washington are now a bottom 4 team again, or 5. I mean, they've regressed quite badly this year. Even their defense isn't holding up. Not really sure why they've gone backwards so much. They've made a farce of what they're doing with their kicker, even though I don't know how much of an influence that does have. But you cut a really good kicker, bring in some rookie called Blewett by some ironic mishap, but and now they've cut him again. There's a group that sounds like a worse run organization than them currently that we're going to come across, but nothing seems right there, and I'm inclined to take the Bucs here to kind of make atonement for the loss to the Saints before the bye week. It's one of my picks for the week.
Gaz?
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything PK was saying. I was laughing to myself there. Only the NFL could throw up a person called Blewett who would blow it and get cut after 3 games. Or 2 games, 3 blocked field goals. But I do think that's probably been a factor in how poor they've been, in that they weren't just kind of middle of the road field goals or kind of worthless ones. They were actually at key points in the games. the one that he missed and got blocked. So potentially, with Joey Sly coming in, they can kind of stay in the game. But as PK said, the Bucks coming in off a bye, they're the second ranked offense in the league. I think they're the 5th or 6th ranked defense. So reigning Super Bowl champions, it's hard to go against them. So yeah, I wouldn't mind putting it in. It didn't make my cut, but I wouldn't mind putting it in if PK is hot on it.
Yeah, it was a lean for me, halfway between a lean and a pick, so it'll probably go in, considering we're all on the same side. I kind of agree with it. Like I think they'll bounce back and they'll go for it here. So I don't like lines that kind of number, but it's you make a good case for it, and we have to see how the rest of the board pans out. But this is probably going to go in as well, so we put a mark beside it, and we move on to a slightly trickier game, in my opinion. The Lions, 8-point road underdogs. It's an interesting one. We'll go to you, Gary. What do you make of this one?
This is actually a pick for me for the Steelers. Like, again, they're a team that just seems to be gaining momentum. They seem to be putting little bits together on offense. Now, I don't know whether it's in the back of my mind. At the start of the season, I had these down as being a really explosive offense, and maybe it's just me wanting them to kind of burst out and show what they can do. But over the last couple of games, I got the feeling that they are starting to put things together. And John, the Lions are the Lions 0-8. They're definitely going to lose this game on the road. So I think, Pittsburgh are a pick for me, -8.
We'll go to you, PK.
Yeah, it was a borderline being a pick, but as Gary said, the Lions aren't going to win this game. The Lions are on the back.
I look forward to someone cutting this out now, just like 30-second clip of me going, Lions aren't going to win, PK. Lions aren't going to win. Lions win 40-0.
But we are in a run of freakish results, so it is the NFL and these crazy things do happen. But Steelers have been grinding results, so it's the Lions will be fresh. I don't know. That's about all I can say in their favor, to be honest with you. As Gary said, they're building momentum, but I think Ben has found good options. Najee Harris been probably offensive rookie of the year, if you ask me, and that tight end Fairmouth, I'm not sure what price he'd be, but he's definitely the red zone target for Ben now anyway. So it was probably number 6 for me, so I'm happy if it goes in.
Oh well, I'm very unhappy if it goes in. You couldn't pick the Lions because they're so bad, but I mean, you look at the wins. I mean, you're saying picking up momentum, Gary, but I mean, they were gifted that win against the Bears last week, and I think all their wins have been by a single score or less. I mean, you know what I mean? 2 points, 3 points, maybe 5 points. So I don't know if they've covered 8 this season. I don't see how they cover it here. I think they're
the Lions. The
Lions are actually last week against the Eagles. What was it, 44-8 or something like that? So.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how we get to the end of it. But for me, it's just an absolute skip.
But you're right though, because the Steelers in most of their games have got into scraps. They've been close, and as I've noted here, they're grinding. And it has to wear at some stage. You can't just keep winning like that. And this could literally be another field goal game, where they win or the refs give them the game as they did on Monday night, LB. But I can see your apprehension too. But you just keep landing back on they're playing the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions, as much as they're off. I mean, obviously last week was dire, but they pretty close. What was it in the end? About 9 points against the Rams, close against the Vikings, close against the Bears. All their losses, even the Ravens and San Francisco, they're not getting stuffed. Green Bay stuffed them at the end, very late. And then last week, but otherwise they're kind of hanging into games. They're really kind of like a bad smell, kind of. They won't go away, but they're not. So I think 8 points is a bit high for this one. So we'll see how the rest of it. There's plenty of games to come, but for me, it was just a skip. One team losing ugly, one team winning ugly. I think 8 is not a nice number there at all.
It's okay. You can use your veto there, LB. It's fine.
We'll see. Right. The next game up, the Panthers travel to Arizona. Take on the Cardinals. The Cardinals 10-point home favorites here. I realize I've skipped the game, but we'll circle back. Cardinals 10-point home favorites. Gary, where do you stand on this one?
This is a game that I just leave alone. The spread is too high. McCaffrey's back, so Panthers could kind of take off. Obviously, Darnold's out, so is it Cam's back, isn't he? Would he play?
Yep.
So, I think there's so many unknowns here. The 10-point spread is just too dodgy. So, it's a game to watch. Could be a really exciting game. It could be high scoring, but for this competition, -10 or +10, I wouldn't be taking. I think it's just a game to sit down and enjoy.
Yeah, well, to save you some time, PK, I have a skip as well here. I don't like 10 of the line anyway. And Gary kind of hit on some good numbers or some good points there with injuries and returnings and questionables. It's just who knows what happens here. And if this game starts against us, 10 becomes nearly insurmountable. So for me, it was a cold skip. But I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on it.
I do, but I'm obviously it's 2 against 1 here. But I'm hot in the cards here. I mean, Murray's back. I mean, I know McCaffrey's back, but who's playing quarterback? Is Cam coming straight back in there? I mean, the Panthers I mean, what did they give away for Darnold on the offseason? And they've tried to get rid of him after about 5 weeks this year. They were courting Deshaun Watson, and now they've brought in Cam Newton, and they're like, I mean, the Panthers are all over the place. They might as well. I know that they've given Newton a lot of money for this season, which suggests they're still hopeful in this season, but I'd suggest they forget about it, to be honest with you. I personally, I'm hard on the Cardinals here, but I'm obviously happy to go with you two guys because you're not as enthused as me.
Well, I just think that if you look at the lines in general, so it's not even this game. It's just when you look at all of the other slate of games.
Oh no!
I think 7 or 8 that are way better, in my opinion, than this. So
no, that's absolutely fine. I've ranked it higher on my list than obviously other games for you, and I think the Panthers are a mess, and the Cards will expose it. But as I said, things have been going very wrong for me lately, so probably best avoiding my advice. I'll note it for next week. I'm going to take note of that commentary there.
I'll be just if I had to pick, I would pick the Cardinals as well. But yeah, I just don't have to pick, so I won't.
Yeah, it's a high line, to be fair.
We'll plow on. We'll go back. We skipped one, so apologies. Now we'll go back to it. It's the Vikings travel to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. This line is at 3 points in favor of the Chargers, 3-point home favorites. So we'll go to you, PK. The Vikings. Will they cover 3?
I think this is a perfect line here. So much so that I won't be getting involved in this one anyway. I mean, the Chargers, the scrape against the Washington again last week or the week before, and they haven't looked very convincing in the last few weeks. And I mean, the Vikings are doing what the Vikings do, right? Just throwing away games or losing. It's just what they do, and they flatter to deceive a lot. This sets up for me to be a field goal game, and I don't know which way it'll swing, so I'll leave it alone.
Okay, what about you guys?
I'm pretty hot on the Chargers here. I had a little bit of a wobble, but decent victory over the Eagles last week, and I think the Eagles are a fairly decent benchmark, so that win should give them a bit of confidence. The Vikings are a little bit of a dodgy team in that, if they turn up, especially on offense, they can rack up a good score, but they've got a lot of injuries on defense. So Anthony Barr is out. He's linebacker. We've got Michael Pierce defensive tackle out. There's a cornerback and a other defensive lineman out as well. So I just think they're a little bit banged up on defense and playing against an offense that's fairly explosive, like the Chargers, although they haven't been explosive recently as they were. I still think the Chargers will put them away at home. So, this was a pick for me, Chargers.
It's a lean for me for the Chargers.
sorry, just to say the Dalvin Cook thing is just one of the weirdest things I've ever. Again, it can only happen in the NFL, but that's
it's a very strange one.
Yeah, this is a lean for me, so it could go in. We'll have to see how the rest of the board goes again. I do think the Chargers are probably better than the last couple of results look. They kind of had a wobble. I think they got beaten. They got beat stuffed by Baltimore, and maybe just haven't looked themselves since. But now they're back to winning ways. You make a good point about the Vikings, PK. I'm looking at it there. I think 6 of their games have been settled by less than a score or score less than a score. So they do stick around, and they maybe when they expect them to win, they mess up and lose, and when they expect them to lose, they hang around the game. So 3 points looks. It's probably right, but I do think that it'll be covered by the Chargers. So pick for Gary, a lean for me, and a skip for you. So we'll have to see how the rest of it goes out, but we'll circle that one as well. Next one now is the Seahawks picking up 3 points on the road at Green Bay. Packers 3-point home favorites here after the mishaps last week. How do you see this one going, Gary?
I kind of find this one a little bit too hard to call. At the minute, I'm siding with the Seahawks. I think Russell Wilson's back. That's going to have a big influence on them. Starting to get a few other players back as well. And then there's the doubt over Rodgers. So I know they're saying that they expect him to kind of clear COVID protocols and things like that. But they've also said that they're that Love has been training as if he was starting this week, so as a backup. So if they're coming out and saying that, I don't think they can be like 100% positive that Rodgers is going to play. And then on the off chance that Rodgers was out and Love did play, then there'd be no way I'd be taking -3 on Green Bay. So I think it's a little bit of a coin toss. If I had to go into my head and had to pick one, I'd say the Seahawks. But I think it's one to leave alone given the doubts that are there. They are saying that Wilson is close to 100%. So if he's close to 100%, the Seahawks could get ticking again. So I discount their recent form while he was out.
Yeah, a lot going on there. PK, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's all question marks here for me as well. Who's playing quarterback? Is Chris Carson back? Is Rodgers back? Is Wilson ready to rock? I mean, yeah, with Gary as well, if I had to probably pick the Seahawks, but I'm more than happy to leave this game alone.
Yeah, I'd be the same. I'd lean Seahawks maybe, but it just depends on who's playing and who's not playing. So it's way too many questions there to be putting in at the start of a fresh quarter. If we were chasing this, maybe you'd go to Seahawks. But I think at this stage now, we just need to play it safe. And we said we don't even know who's going to be starting the quarterback. We don't really know for either side. Maybe Wilson is fully fit, like you said, Gary, but a lot of doubts around this game. So going to skip it. Right, the next one up, the Eagles travel to Denver to take on the Broncos. That line is 3 points in favor of the Broncos, so they're laying 3 at home to the Eagles. This is another one. I'm sure maybe one of you have a strong opinion on it, but for me, it's a very tricky line. So we'll go to you, PK, first. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I think this is a slight reaction to the Broncos beating the Cowboys. I'm not really sure how to place that result in terms of a bigger scope, but the one thing, the Eagles have become, as Gary said, a pretty good threshold or barometer, and they've been really good in the last 4 weeks. I think they've really looked like they've leveled out their offense between run and pass and whatnot, and who's getting involved. And they've always had a good defensive line, maybe weak in the secondary and whatever else. But I think I've taken the Eagles myself personally here. I think it's my number 5 pick. I just think that this is a slight overreaction to what the Broncos did last week, and the Eagles have been good enough good enough in recent weeks for me to take them with a 3-point handicap.
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling too that this line has been heavily influenced probably by the public reaction to that win. But we'll go to you, Gary. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. As I mentioned earlier on, I think the Eagles are a decent barometer, and they're kind of unlucky. They're 3-6. They're unlucky not to be have a few more wins on the board anyway. Do you know that way? They could definitely be 4 and 5. I think, as I said, they've been unlucky. As you said, the Broncos are probably overrated based on their victory over the Cowboys. But if the Cowboys have another blip this week and the Eagles can win, it gives them an outside chance in that division. So I think it's kind of a must-win game for the Eagles. And that would have me siding with them +3. I think I'd probably take them on the money line as well. I haven't seen what odds they are, but I fancy the Eagles here.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think that instinctively I would nearly tend to lay teams that had big upset weekend wins the weekend before. Like in any sport, we'll see, obviously this weekend will tell us whether the Cowboys have been derailed a bit or whether it was a blip. But if you look at all the big teams this season, we've talked about them. One week there's always one of them has a blip. The Bills, the Bucks, whoever it is has had an off week. I think that's what happened to Cowboys last week, and I think that if you look at the Eagles here, I think they've covered 3 of the last 4. I think that they lost pretty badly to the Raiders, but other than that, they've been overperforming compared to what the lines expect. So I think there's an element of them being underrated there, and I think the Broncos are probably slightly overrated. So for me, it's a pick for the Eagles as well. So is that a full house of picks, or would that lean from you guys?
I took it as a pick. Yeah, that's it. Okay,
so first full house of the night.
If you're talking about Eagles, the money line, I think you have to pick them +3.
Well, that's kind of the way I'll go ahead.
Full house madness. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season?
No, exactly.
In fairness, they're probably the biggest improvers of the season as it's gone on. They've been. I'm not an Eagles fan. I wouldn't really be much inclined towards them, but I've liked the football they've been playing the last 3 or 4 weeks. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Yes, that's a surprise inclusion, but in it goes. Okay, second last one now. We've got PK's Kansas City Chiefs travel to Las Vegas. 2.5 point road favourites here. What do you make of that? Thought you told us you'd never back the Chiefs again this season, but they're 2.5 point favourites here against the Raiders.
Absolutely not backing them. No, there's nothing. I mean, other than Green Bay couldn't do anything offensively. That's the only reason we beat them last week. It's not as if Mahomes and co lit the world on fire either. So I mean, couldn't have it. But it's a massive game in terms of the Chiefs' season against a divisional rival here. Chance to get to what are we? Are we 5 and 4 now? I mean, chance to get us to 6 and 4 against and obviously knock the Raiders down a little bit too. So I'm too much heart invested in this game to put anything towards this competition. So I'm leaving it alone for sure.
A skip from PK. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's one of those that could look like a steal on Monday morning, but I think divisional game. Chiefs haven't been great. Like they've averaged 12 points scored over the last 3 games. Again, if you had said that at the start of the season, nobody would have believed you. So I think it's a game to avoid. There's obviously something up in the Chiefs. Obviously they've had a few injuries as well, but there's something up there. And then the Raiders, it's like a Circa. So you've got like the Ruggs stuff here this week that Gruden's I know Gruden isn't the manager anymore, but he's suing the NFL because he thinks that the leaks of the emails were targeted and things like that. So it's a bit of a circus. I think it's a game just to avoid. There's better picks out there.
Yeah, there are better picks. I have a lean towards the Raiders here. I have no reason to think that Kansas will just turn it on. They haven't been able to do it all season. We've talked about it extensively, PK, on the stream. So for me, I would lean the Raiders, but not enough to overrule 2 skips. And like you said, there's off-field stuff there. And the Raiders have kind of steamrolled their way through all that off-field stuff so far. The season hasn't seemed to bother them, but they were poor last week. And is it starting to take its toll? So I think we can skip that one and find better lines elsewhere. So that brings us on to the final game of the week. Kind of a California game here. The Rams travel to San Francisco, and the line here is 4 points. The Rams are laying for San Francisco. The 49ers 0-4 at home. The Rams 4-0 on the road. Just an interesting little quirk there. We'll go to you, Gary, as a 49ers man. What do you see here?
Pains me to say it, but like the Rams -4 all day long. Like it just the 49ers, like they're picking up way too many injuries. I didn't think they could get as many injuries as last year, but they're getting fairly close to it anyway. Like the Rams offense is so good, could blow them away. The 49ers defense isn't that bad, but the injuries that are on there, they're not small players that are being injured for them, like Armstead and players like that. So I think that the Rams -4 is probably the bet of the weekend.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are the second worst team or the third worst team against the spread in the whole league. And I think they're 1-5 and that one, they're 1-6 even against the spread, and that one came against the Bears, who, doesn't even really count as a win. So otherwise they've been pretty miserable betting wise. So what about you, PK? Yeah, the Rams or the Niners?
Oh, Rams all day. I mean that 4-0-4 thing for on the road and at home that you mentioned, just adds weight to it too. I mean, as Gary said, the 49ers aren't necessarily bad defensively. I don't think they're that bad at all, but I don't know how they'll cope offensively against this Rams defense as well. And just like they've added OBJ, but my opinion on that, I don't think he adds anything to the Rams. I think with Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp, their wide receiving battalion is pretty loaded already. So, it's just how do the 49ers cope with everything the Rams will throw at them, and I don't think they can. So I'll take this all day. Yeah.
Yeah. So
here's my number one pick. To be honest, on this one, I think that they'll. Yeah, if you take that Bears game out of it for the 49ers beating them, like they're on some negative trajectory there. So like you said, Gary, a lot of injuries, things aren't going right for them, and the line hasn't moved that much. That's the thing, they keep failing to cover, and it's not like it's going out and out and out. Like 4 points here looks pretty easily attainable for the Rams. That's another full house. So that one's going in. So you're going to make a point there, Gary? Sorry.
No, sorry. I just went into the 49ers there to get their kind of injuries on defense. So Jaquezi Tart, safety, injured reserve. Dre Greenlaw, linebacker, injured reserve. Defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, injured reserve. D Ford, defensive end, injured reserve. As far as more safety is out, and then if you go in, they're all kind of injured reserve or out, and then there's a rake of questionable. So Josh Norman, cornerback, questionable. Jacob Patrick, questionable. Emmanuel Mosley, questionable. Eric Armstead, questionable, and Jimmy Ward, questionable. Four of those are cornerbacks that are questionable. Now they'll probably play, but it's not a good injury list to have. And I think you probably have to give the 49ers credit this season for the fact that they're 3-5 with the injuries that they've had on both offense and defense. But up against an offense like the Rams, even though they have home advantage, I can't see them winning.
Home advantage is a bad thing for the 49ers, so clearly. So
yeah.
They must have the record for the biggest distance away from their stadium, do they? Must be the furthest stadium away from the city of any team.
They're in Santa Clara.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a good bit outside. All right. Candlestick was most far.
It's not doing them any favors this season, anyway. Like you said, PK.
I hate the game last night, though. I do hate thinking that primetime games are a foregone conclusion, because I don't know, the NFL doesn't like that, and it's Vegas doesn't like it either. So it's it makes me nervous. So I don't think it'll be a blowout, but hopefully we'll cover.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a blowout for 4 points, so.
Yeah. A lot of the 49ers games that I've only seen, I think, I watch 4 of them live, and they hang on, and then obviously with injuries they just kind of fade away a bit at the end. So hopefully that's what happens here, and it's an entertaining primetime game for 3 quarters, and then they lose by a touchdown. So The way it looks like, we got three consensus picks pretty much. The Bucks, you two picked them, and it was a lean from me, so that'll go in. The Eagles, full house, and the Rams, full house. So there's 3 picks there, and then we have 2 others that makes it pretty simple, where we're all on the same side. Although a slight skip for you, PK, but it's the Titans and the I'll read my own writing here, and the Patriots. Yeah. So that would be the 5 as things stand, unless anyone has any change of heart or last minute additions or arguments to make. So it would be the Patriots, the Titans, the Bucks, the Eagles, and the Rams.
Yeah, like the only thing I'd say is I could be tempted to swap out the Bucks for the Chargers, but understand that if you guys aren't as keen on that. Just the fact that it's a 9.5 point spread more than anything else, but as I said, happy to have it in there or either, so it's not a massive point.
Where were you on the Chargers, PK? It was a skip for you, if I recall.
It was a skip, but it's a definite lean to the Chargers. Like, I mean, it's not a gun to the head thing. Like, I look at that game and I go, yeah, I'm taking the Chargers. Just the -3 line, and knowing that the Vikings are plucky, and you can see the Vikings being up by 5 there, and then conceding much like the Falcons conceding a touchdown with a minute to go, and missing a field goal then to win it themselves. It's just how. It's just the nature of the Vikings games, this is how they're inclined, and that's the thing that's.
Well, if we want to settle it, we can just pick. We have the 4, and then we can put the last 2 up as like a Twitter poll or something, and give it 12 hours, see what the rest of our esteemed peers and colleagues think of it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Probably worth doing. As I said, I'm happy enough to leave the Bucks in there, but
they were both leads for me, so
I'm always tempted to go with those smaller lines, like.
Yeah, that plays on my mind as well. We'll make it a poll and we'll see what we get between now, and we'll give it we'll see what the timelines are. We'll give it a few hours anyway. So that's 4. We got the Rams, the Eagles, the Patriots, and the Titans are in, and then it is a poll or a decision to be made between the Chargers and the Bucks. So we're down to 6. Pretty confident about those. It's an interesting week. I think there could be a lot of variety in the picks that go in this week. Some weeks you see it and nearly everyone's on the same lines, but I think there'll be a bit of variety here. So happy with those lines.
Yep, cool.
Yep. No, I'm happy with them too.
Short and sweet this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, thanks for tuning in. Thanks as always, PK, for joining us.
You didn't do the bet of the week and game of the week, LB.
Oh yeah, sorry, I skipped it. I knew something was missing. So we go to you, PK. You reminded me. What's your bet of the week?
I mentioned the guy for the Big Ben's new favorite target, Fairmouth, against the Lions. I'm not sure what price he'd be. He might be the wrong side of evens, but throw him in an ACA. And Carson Wentz loves Pittman as well against the Jets. I mean, they're playing against 2 of the worst defenses. So Pittman's 11-10. I think he's worth throwing in any ACA. And then game of the week is obviously Chiefs and Raiders, because it's a proverbial 6-pointer to bring in a soccer term into the world of NFL, but that's what it is in terms of the AFC West. So I'll be watching that Sunday night come hell or high water.
Nice. Yeah, I like both of those. And what about you guys?
So I'll be with PK on Freermuth. I just went in there. He's 2-1 PK, which is a decent price.
But he scored 2 the last night.
Sorry?
He got 2 the last night, right?
Yeah. So I think he's a good bet. Deontay Johnson's evens in there. I think I'd be looking at the Steelers offense there. I think they could rack up a score against the Lions, as I was saying earlier on. I kind of fancy the Steelers myself. My bet of the weekend, though, is Peoples-Jones. I think he's 2-1 as well. With Betfair, I think you could probably get bigger with the likes of Bet365. I'll have to check the market and see, but I take him at 2-1 anyway. I think he's a good chance of getting into the end zone. And then game of the week for me, it could be a nightmare of the week for me watching the Rams versus the 49ers and having to cheer on be cheering for the 49ers, obviously, but having some sort of soft one for the Rams, considering I've picked them for the Super Bowl and we have them in this. As far as Sunday night is concerned, I think that the Saints and Titans could turn into a really good game, and hopefully the Titans destroy them for us. So
that's 3-point line. I'll take an entertaining 4-point win, and we'll enjoy it there. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Yourself, LB?
Well, my bet of the weekend is probably college football bet, PK. It'll be Purdue to cover against Ohio State, maybe even beat them. So you can check on SportsRunDown.com for my long-winded explanation of that one. But they're picking up 20 points. I think they have a legitimate chance of winning that game. They're 8-1.
I mean, we discussed this. Like, Purdue beat Michigan State last week, or the 4 ranked team, I think. So, like, it makes no sense. 20 points makes no sense.
Makes no sense whatsoever. So yeah, it's a big bet for me, and probably biggest college football bet in a while. We'll go on that one. But yeah, that's been taking my attention. So I have no NFL bets to share, but I will certainly trail the 2 of your 2-1 picks there. Maybe even a treble of all of them. So yeah, that's it there for the weekend, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Whether you watch the whole show or just the NFL segment at the end, we appreciate the views, and we will be back at the same time next week. So the football schedule should be back to normal, and then we'll be back afterwards for the Circa selections again, and hopefully we're off to a flying start this quarter, unlike the previous 2 quarters, which started a little bit slow. Okay, so good night, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.